Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by friends to elect Frugal Dougal.
8:59, traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And back to you, Andy.
Well, Amanda, we're watching I-15 coming to a halt on North 15. Looks like some slowdowns getting on at 4500 South and working your way north. We've also got delays on I-80 still coming over from Tooele County. It looks like they're starting to break up at the front end, so we might have lane restrictions getting lifted right now, but you're still going to see delays starting around 7200 West on I-80. Heather?
No slowdowns right now, southbound I-15 from Ogden to Salt Lake, but we have plenty of congestion in South Ogden, right at the interchange of US 89 and Harrison Boulevard. Other than that, you're going to have good speeds through the mountain on I-84 and getting to the airport using Legacy Parkway in the West Side Belt. Eric?
Still got reduced speeds northbound I-15 Utah County in San Joaquin because of a crash a couple miles north of town, and as you work your way through Linden, heading up to the Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit. Studies show being in nature improves your mental and physical health. Can't get out of the city? Take a nature break at Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park. More information and tickets at tracyaviary.org. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is going to be just a beautiful day. A high of 77 degrees. Some cool winds will move in from the north later on this afternoon. That'll cool us down to 72 for a high tomorrow. We go back up into the 80s on Wednesday. Right now, it's 70 degrees downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, just days after hitting 100 degrees, temperatures today aren't even expected to break 80 in Salt Lake City. Tomorrow, temperatures will barely reach 70 degrees. But KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says with this cold front, winds are going to start kicking up.
Generally speaking, winds will be 15 to 25 miles an hour, with gusts up to 40 miles an hour.
Those winds are part of the reason why we have a red flag warning in southern Utah. We could also see some wildfire smoke blow in from California, but it's not expected to reach the Wasatch Front. The Little Twist fire in Beaver County has now burned over 2,200 acres. The fire has been unpredictable because of strong winds and low humidity that will continue through the day. The fire began as a prescribed burn last week, but then got out of control. Our top national story now from ABC News. The nation's top doctor is urging tobacco and alcohol-style warning labels on social media. Dr. Vivek Murthy says it's because of the danger it poses to teens.
Murthy is pointing to data that shows teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of anxiety or depression. The average user that age was on social media for almost 5 hours a day.
ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports the opinion came in from his New York Times op-ed. Your money at this moment, the Dow is off just 20 points, less than 0.1%. We're at 38,568. Coming up, a mild day, beautiful day in store. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
The fight to defeat the swamp, defend our constitutional liberties, and put America first starts in Utah with conservative outsider Trent Staggs. As mayor of Riverton, Staggs stood up to Rhino Mitt Romney, fought against unconstitutional government COVID lockdowns and mandates, and Staggs was the first candidate to endorse President Donald Trump. Now, conservative Trent Staggs will continue to defend our conservative values by taking the fight to Washington, D.C. and defeating the swamp. In Congress, Staggs will partner with fellow conservative Rand Paul to protect our constitutional liberties, end taxpayer-funded handouts to Ukraine, secure our border, and deport illegal aliens. That's why Trent Staggs has earned President Trump and Senator Rand Paul's complete and total endorsement. A proven conservative, taking the fight to the Washington swamp. Trent Staggs for U.S. Senate. Protect Freedom PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.protectfreedompac.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a bit of delay northbound I-15 coming out of Santa Quin heading into Payson. It's due to an earlier crash, and all the vehicles in that crash have cleared, but there's still one UHP trooper on the side of the road keeping things slow. And then as you get into the Salt Lake Valley, you're going to be at a crawl northbound, approaching 53rd South and Murray up to 4500 South. That is actually due to a crash at the bottom of the exit ramp to 4500 South, which has multiple lanes blocked in that area of 4500 South, so that's backed up onto the freeway. Most everyone else, though, is at speed except eastbound I-80 coming out of Twila County. Now, during our Stars, Stripes, and Savings Sale, get up to $120 off select sets of in-stock tires. Don't wait. The sale ends July 7th. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Things will cool down today with highs in the upper 70s. Some winds move in later. Right now, let's see what our current temperature is. Just 72 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
David
Dujanovic can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, the speed camera data that is coming to us from Washington, D.C. is so compelling that Dave and I just couldn't turn away from it today. And we wondered, could this be the solution to slow Utahns down on our roads?
Absolutely it is. And we all know this is the solution. But we love to speed. That's why we dislike it so passionately. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are the 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
You know, when I see this report on KSLNewsRadio.com that Utah has the second highest number of speed-related fatal crashes in the nation, we know. We just see it with our own eyes, Dave. Speeding is a major problem in Utah. Does D.C. have the answer? Bring back Photocop?
Yeah, we don't like it because we don't think it's going to happen to us. I'm totally guilty. You know, we've done this before where we've tried to address it. This is such an important conversation to have, and I wonder, with the technology that is out right now, how affordable it is. And the data we're seeing out of D.C. of how much safer it is if this is finally the push that we need.
Countdown to...
The U.S. Surgeon General it's pretty much demanding Congress mandate warning labels on social media, like that it's dangerous to a child's mental health, and like we do with alcohol and cigarettes. Now, we know that Congress has held hearings calling out social media CEOs, but the Surgeon General says it's time to act. Let's do more than talk. I mean, we hear a lot of talk, right?
There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the picture.
And I remember that. I remember when Mark Zuckerberg stood up before Congress, turned around to those victims and apologized. Is there a warning label that needs to be put every time you launch Instagram, every time you open up Snapchat that says this is dangerous for your health? My concern is, are we really paying attention to those cigarette warning labels? Is it moving the needle when we open up our music app and it says explicit lyrics?
Oh, you
is
mean
that
we
really
listen anyway?
Yeah, we're going to listen anyway. And if everything has a warning label, are we just going to tune it out? Yeah, I think we do. I think we have ignored these warning labels for decades.
Launch countdown 1.
How about this? The governor asking us, at least during this summer, to go with a free phone Friday. And not just for kids. I think this applies to adults as well. Can you put away your phone on Fridays? Well, Dave and I are going to take our own free phone Friday quiz at 10:05. Could we live up to the governor's asks of things like phone-free date nights, phone-free family dinner, phone-free family time? I mean, the gov's been putting this message out for a while.
We need to find ways and excuses to put those phones away, to put them away as a family. Parents are part of the problem.
When you said phone-free Friday, I thought they were giving away free phones.
I think I did say free phone Friday.
Free phone
Sorry,
Friday.
Governor.
Phone-free
The governor's
Friday.
not giving away free phones.
Either way, I think we've all tried to implement this in some way, and we put these weird parameters like, I'm not going to pick up my phone 30 minutes before I go to bed. And then literally every second you're in bed, you're scrolling, doom scrolling. It's a great sentiment. Is it reality? Because I think my boss and my job, I feel this pressure to always have my phone with me just in case they call me.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Let's begin with talking about bringing back photocop to the state of Utah. Utah, we know, has the second highest number of speed-related fatal crashes in the nation. We've been reporting that here at KSL News Radio, and we see it with our own eyes, too. So does D.C. have the answer? When we see somebody speeding, if they were caught on photo radar, if there was pictures snapped of them, would that slow things down? And would it slow drivers down? And we know what's going on in D.C. with the data that's rolling in now, that it is very successful.
Yes, where cameras are installed on streets that have historically had problems with speeding, they saw a direct correlation between speeding and safety, right? Speeding dropped sharply. And the reason we know this is because the best deterrence, and you could talk to any law enforcement, criminal justice person out there, and they will say the best deterrence is not a harsh punishment. It's the threat of being caught. If you think you break the law and you know you're going to get caught, that's a better deterrent than saying a speeding ticket is going to be $10,000.
The Washington Post analyzed some data, and I want to set the scene back in Washington, D.C. So they have about 500 speed cameras set up in different places around D.C. And now the data starts rolling in. If you look at a camera that was installed in one neighborhood in early 2022, it was an area that had about 7,500 speeding tickets. Okay. Now that number has dropped to just over 300 speeding tickets. It's incredible.
It is incredible. And I love the fact that as they're measuring this, they see tons and tons of tickets. You know, they're issuing tickets left and right. But then people learn, people adapt, people slow down. And this is just on one busy road.
And they show that 70% of the people who get caught once on camera speeding don't reoffend. They haven't been, at least they haven't gotten a second ticket. So either they've gotten really good about driving around the cameras and using neighborhoods that don't have cameras, or they've slowed down. And I'd like to think it's that the cameras are slowing people down in D.C.
I think whatever the result is, the fact this is an isolated road. I mean, there's several examples. There's, again, like you said, 500 cameras out there, but focusing on this one road, it does make a difference, and people adapt and they change. Imagine if that 500 turned into 5,000 cameras, and now it's on every busy and semi-dangerous road out there, and people are either leaving that road to less congested roads, it's spreading out the congestion. If that's the solution, or if people are genuinely slowing down, I think the result is the same.
A lot of times you think people would want to run from the ideas of having a speed camera in their neighborhood or on their commute to work. But in D.C., it's been so successful. There are some, 500 cameras, but 1,200 requests from people who want cameras set up in their neighborhoods.
I kind of chuckle because I think this is the reverse NIMBY. NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
You would think, I love this as an idea. I just don't want it in my neighborhood. But what they're finding is neighborhoods are saying, this road right here, just outside where my kids play, this is a dangerous road. Please bring photocop to my neighborhood. It is totally anti-NIMBY.
Utah has had a tenuous up and down relationship with photocop. We had photocop systems in Utah way back in the 90s, and then we got rid of them. And then the legislature brought them back, sort of, under certain conditions. We can have photo radar in some neighborhoods. But I wonder if, and we'll walk through that next. We'll tell you what those conditions are in just a moment. But I also want to talk to State Senator Todd Weiler and ask him, with Utah seeing so many speed-related fatal crashes, if Utah lawmakers have an appetite to bring back photocop across the state. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Debbie Myler, wife of Attorney General candidate Frank Myler. Several years ago, Frank and I formed Beauty from Ashes, a nonprofit that helps bring gospel solutions to those in abusive marriages. We use the courts to protect the most vulnerable. We have to have an Attorney General like Frank who cares about and works to provide the legal help people need. Vote Frank Myler for Utah Attorney General.
This is Frank Myler, and I approve this ad. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
Utah's waters are running high and cold.
Both Jordan Elm and Utah Lake are at capacity. Anything and everything that comes in there has to go downstream.
Join Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News this Thursday for a special broadcast from the Provo River. Swift Water Danger. Thursday from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
At Common Spirit Health, we don't just see a cancer diagnosis. We see you, and you don't have to do this alone. We believe you should be surrounded by your people, so you can keep them close while you get care close to home. Supported by our care team from diagnosis to treatment and beyond, and strengthened by treatment tailored to you. Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to cancer care. Find cancer care with human kindness close to you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. You may have heard that mortgage rates have come down over the last several months. While they are still higher than a few years ago, the change has brought some opportunities. Some simple math can help determine whether a refinance will be beneficial to you even with a higher rate than you currently have. This can happen when you knock off enough other high-interest debt to lower your overall payments. We can go over this with you to see if it makes sense for your situation. We are currently saving many clients several $100s per month in payments using this strategy. And if you refinance using an FHA or VA loan, you will be eligible for a streamlined refinance when rates come down further. That's a win-win. Call us today to see if this would benefit you. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
When it's hot outside, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 30,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance and repair to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
The three things you need to know this hour. I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a neighborhood in Farmington is suing the water district 7 months after their basements were flooded with sewage. They claim the district is not giving them the compensation needed to fix the water damage. Second, a woman was severely injured after a skydiving accident in Tooele County. We're told the 22-year-old hit a roof and may have contacted a power line. Third, a Tooele County family is thanking a group of Good Samaritans they say saved their father's life after he had a seizure and fell face first into a campfire. Right now, 72 degrees, and back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, unless you're stuck in one of our traffic jams we're monitoring here at KSL News Radio for you, it likely is that you saw somebody speeding by you this morning on your way to work or your way to drop off the kids at school. And the question we're exploring right now, is it time for Utah to bring back photocop to catch speeders? Because they've seen a lot of success on this recently in D.C.
We have massive problems with speeding. Every one of us have a story driving on I-15. I had one over the weekend. I'm driving 80-something miles an hour, and I get passed by 3 motorcycles as if I were standing still. They had to be going at least 110. It was zipping past the old minivan like a lightning bolt. So we have a problem. We all know this. We've experienced it. There's 2 ways you can address this. Either a harsh punishment or increase enforcement. Well, we know every cop out there can tell you the threat, and the research has shown this, the threat of being caught is a far better deterrent than a harsh punishment. And this is what D.C. has done. These fines are not $10,000 fines for speeding. They're somewhere between $100 and $500, depending on the infraction. So they've decided, we're going to just ensure if you speed on this road, you're going to get caught. And then what did we see, Deb?
Yeah, huge drop in speeding tickets. Went from 7,500 speeding tickets before the cameras were installed in one community to about a year and a half later, a little over 300 speeding tickets issued. And according to the Washington Post, the D.C. has about 500 or so of these speed cameras installed. There are requests for 1,200. So communities and neighborhoods are going to the mayor of D.C.'s office and saying, please put these in our neighborhood so we can stop speeders. I think about the things that we're using right now to slow down traffic in neighborhoods. Randomly, you'll come across a speed bump. No other neighborhood in the entire city has a speed bump, but there's just one neighborhood. Sometimes you'll see a parent who's gotten one of those plastic yellow signs that says children at play. They'll stick it out in their front yard because they're desperate to slow down traffic. Occasionally, you'll see a speed sign put out by a police department, tells you how fast you're going and suggests, like in flashing bright red letters, to slow down. But what we don't see in the state of Utah is speed cameras. And Utah has had a kind of contentious relationship with this type of technology. We had these cameras in some places in Utah back in the 90s. I knew this because I did stories on them, but I also got caught on one while speeding one night down Redwood Road to get to a live shot. Kind of a bad choice made on my part.
You got nabbed.
And there it came in the mail, the photocop ticket. I got busted, and I got a ticket, caught on camera, and that was my face. You could see my face, and they had the speed I was going, and then I had to report to, Justice of the Peace or something like that, and I agreed. I don't know if I paid a fine. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but I agreed to slow down. But I like what I'm seeing out of D.C. and the significant drop in speeding tickets that are being issued. Because, and it's got to be because of these speed cameras, right?
Yeah. Joining us right now, Senator Todd Weiler. Thanks for joining us, Senator. And we want to know, we have had it in the past here in Utah on some level, in some limited amount. But what are your thoughts? And does the legislature have any sort of appetite for photocop?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Debbie. Long before I joined the legislature, they banned them, and I think it's more of a Big Brother type situation. A lot of times, I think you'll see the drops because people learn where they are, so they just slow down in that one spot, which is not ideal. But I haven't heard much talk in the last 12 years of bringing them back. It's kind of the libertarians kind of hate them. I think a lot of legislators would prefer that a human being could make that decision and not a machine, like maybe you're in labor or maybe you had to go to the bathroom or whatever. Sometimes people have excuses for speeding, but only 19 states and the District of Columbia have them. So Utah's in the comfortable majority of states that don't allow the traffic cameras. And I just want to say, I was in Europe with my wife about 3 years ago, and we had a lovely time in France, and we got home, and about 3 weeks later, our tickets started showing up because they have photocop over there, and we didn't realize they did. So,
how much did you end up spending?
Well, it was my wife, so Dave, so she has a lead foot.
Well, that sounds unfair.
Yeah.
So Utah, looking at this KSLNewsRadio.com article that we were citing earlier, and that Utah does have the second highest number of speed-related fatal crashes in the nation. We know speeding is a huge problem here. If this is an obvious deterrent, why not make it so it's more widely available? Why doesn't the Utah legislature appear to have an appetite for this?
So, I'd like to see that data. For the last couple of decades, our fatalities, like per capita fatalities, it's my understanding that they've been going down. And so, speeding is one thing. Injuries and fatalities, are a separate thing. But yeah, I think it's a philosophy. I think it's more of a ideological and philosophical approach to, whether we're just going to use a bunch of technology and try to catch people, doing something wrong, or whether we're just going to let the police do their jobs. And I do think there is a advantage. I was driving down from Mueller Park in Bountiful last night with my wife, and we were commenting because it's a pretty steep grade down, and it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. I said, I'm sure they could sit out here and write tickets all day because it's hard to only – you have to hit your brakes a lot to only go 30. And then I noticed a cop car on the right, and it wasn't a speed trap. It was just the cop was parked in his own driveway. I thought, oh, that probably helps slow people down right there. So, and he had backed in like, police officers are wont to do. But, yeah, I think it's an interesting debate. I'm kind of comfortable that we don't have, the traffic cameras giving tickets like that. And you could say, well, if you did get a ticket like that, you could go in the judge and explain the circumstances. But I don't know. I think it's just a whole philosophy of law enforcement. I think all of us are guilty at times of traffic infractions. And, I've heard literally no discussion of it for years. Like maybe once in the last 12 years I've heard it discussed, and it was quickly kind of pushed aside. So I don't see those coming back anytime soon.
Senator Todd Weiler, thank you for joining us. My final thought here, Deb, is we don't have a problem passing the laws. We have no problem saying this is a school zone. This should be 35 miles an hour, 55 here, 80 on the freeways. We don't have any problem passing the laws. So why would we have any problem enforcing the laws? That's where I land. I think if you're not going to enforce the law, then why do we have the law in the first place? You're not asking people, you're not unfairly hitting them with photocop. If they are speeding, they pay the price. If we pass the law, let's have every bit the effort to enforce it. And the way you enforce it is either with photocop or you hire a bunch of extra police officers to crack down on this. Don't have the laws if you're not going to enforce it.
Let's do some phone calls next. 801-575-TALK. Thumbs up or thumbs down to bringing back photocop to the state of Utah? We're talking about this as the Washington Post reports a significant drop in the number of speed-related traffic tickets that are issued across D.C. They have almost 500 speed cameras that they've installed. There's a request for 1,200 from people in the community who want these things installed because they're slowing down traffic. Thumbs up or thumbs down to bringing photocop back to Utah? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. We'll take your live calls next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, power outages from Ogden to St. George to Vernal left thousands of Utahns without lights or AC for hours over the weekend. Rocky Mountain Power spokesperson David Eskelson says outages are common in the summer and will likely keep happening.
There's a certain amount of wear and tear on electric systems that isn't necessarily visible. And so when we start reaching our peak use time, when customers use the most energy of any time of the year, is when summer is up. Some of those trouble spots cause outages.
He says it's important to moderate the use of AC and to try and use appliances like dryers during non-peak hours before 8 a.m. or after 10 o'clock at night. Our top national story now from ABC News. Firefighters in northern Los Angeles County are struggling to control a wildfire that started this weekend and has expanded to over 14,000 acres.
On Sunday evening, the fire again exploded when the wind shifted and the flames went raging mainly in rugged mountain terrain far away from any homes. Interstate 5 was shut down again overnight because of flames along the heavily traveled freeway that connects northern and southern California. Neighborhoods like the one I'm in right now are covered in a smoky haze and ash is falling. Alex Stone, ABC News in northern LA County.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is up now 43 points. That's 0.1%. We're at 38,632. Coming up, a mild day in store. Cooler temperatures today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You know Master Electrical Service. We have some exciting news. They've just joined Mountain Home Services.
And you've had a tremendous experience with Mountain Home Services a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience. Number one, they installed my furnace. It worked great. They tuned it up, and it has lasted for years and years and years. So I was so So excited to hear that Master Electrical has joined Mountain Home Services.
And of course, Master Electrical has been your trusted source for all your electric needs. EV chargers, generators, that new recessed lighting that you've been wanting in your home. Well, now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help with other things like HVAC, which is your heating and air.
Yeah, they also do plumbing. They have that upfront pricing guarantee. So when they come out, they give you a bid. They're going to honor that. You're not going to see any of those hidden fees.
And it's 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Of course, Master Electrical has been the name you've trusted since 1954.
And you can trust Mountain Home Services as well. We do. MountainHomeUtah.com is the website, MountainHomeUtah.com.
Or give them a call, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Discover the best of senior living at Trio Orem and Trio South Ogden. Today's older adults aren't wrapping up their life's journey, they're seeking a new one. And Trio Independent Living is here to help them do just that. With a smart, modern, and connected lifestyle, residents cultivate relationships and maximize independence through signature programs like Prime Fit Wellness that bring living well and well-being to life. Welcome to the new age of senior living. Schedule your visit at leisurecare.com/Utah today.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's Ultimate Speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call 1-800-501-6000 or go to ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabits per second internet and security edge. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabits per second of Verizon 5G Business, AT&T Wireless Broadband, and T-Mobile for Business. Up to 3 times download for existing essential and standard internet customers.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic remains very slow right now. Northbound I-15 between 7200 South and Midvale up to the 4500 South exit in Murray. It was due to a crash blocking 2 right lanes of the freeway. They just cleared the crash about a minute and a half ago. All the emergency vehicles making their way down that exit ramp. So all the lanes are now open. It's just going to take time for these residual delays to clear out. And good news, we're back to speed on I-80 eastbound coming out of Twilla County over toward the airport. For a top quality kitchen or bath with top quality craftsmanship, call 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. They're always on time with no delays and meet all deadlines. Visit 3daykitchen.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Things will cool down today with highs in the upper 70s. Some winds will move in later. Right now, 73 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Should we bring back photocop? You know, when you're driving along and you're going like 15, 20 miles over the speed limit and you get captured on camera and then you get a ticket in the mail. Washington, D.C. is seeing what I would consider success in terms of slowing things down. And Dave pointed this article out to me earlier this morning in the Washington Post, and I'm glad you did, Dave, because it's showing some amazing results that there's a significant drop-off in the number of speeding citations that are being issued now that people realize that these cameras are up in neighborhoods around D.C.
They looked at several different cameras, and one of the starkest examples was back in, I think it was 2022, in January of 2022, when they first installed these photocops, and they handed out something like over 7,000 citations just in that month. And then you saw this very sharp decline as the photocop was still there, handing out citations, and you see it drop from over 7,000 citations given out in a month to under around 300, about 315 in an entire month. So it wasn't that people were getting around it. They just stopped speeding on that road. You can say, oh, they just moved to another road where they were speeding. Fine. But on that road, they had slowed down.
Now, the cry in Utah has been it's either unconstitutional or something along those lines that you should have the right to face your accuser. And the accuser being the police officer who's, pulled you over. So you're, I guess, have the right to sort of hold court at the side of the road there and go back and forth with maybe giving your excuse. I had to get to the hospital. I'm late for work, or I'm trying to pick up my kids and they've been standing, at school for an hour and I'm trying to get there. And then it just went away mostly. And now it looks like Utah law allows for photocop under very specific circumstances. For example, photocop could be set up in a school zone, as long as there is a police officer there. Well, we know we don't have enough police officers to go around to set up a camera and a cop in every single community that has a problem with speeding. But in general, what are your thoughts on bringing back photocop to Utah? Is that something you'd like to see? We've got a long list of phone callers lined up on this Monday morning, Dave.
801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK.
Hi, Mitch. Let's start with you and Orem. What do you think about the idea of bringing back photocop?
So, yeah, in my opinion, there's really the two issues. You brought up the one just now about the Sixth Amendment of our Constitution in Utah that says we have the right to be confronted with the witnesses against us. And so that's been kind of ruled that it's kind of a gray area, and we don't really know how we feel about that, right? But the other issue is you actually have to identify the driver of the vehicle. And because it's not illegal to have your car driven beyond the speed limit, it's illegal to drive a car exceeding the speed limit. So in order for it to work, you really need like driver ID, like facial recognition, which, as was mentioned by the senator, that really does feel like Big Brother just watching everything.
Well, Mitch, thank you for your phone call. I've admitted many times that I got caught by the photocop in West Valley City back in the 90s, and I could tell it was me. The picture showed up in the mail. I could tell it was me. Janet and Sandy, what do you think about bringing back photocop to Utah?
I'm against it. I had an experience with photocop in West Valley, too, back then, and they took a picture of my license, and they guessed at the numbers because it wasn't as clear as it could have been, and so they guessed, and so they made it so that I was the one who was speeding, but it wasn't even my car. It wasn't the same kind of car. I mean, they didn't even look to see what kind of car it was that went with the license plate. And so I had to go in, and I sat for about an hour and a half with two little kids waiting, and then finally they said, oh, yeah, that's not your car. And then I got to go home.
That's what I was saying. I know. And that is so frustrating.
Janet.
And when we look back to the 90s, we have to acknowledge that in the last 30 years, technology has revolutionized. You're not going to get the grainy, terrible pictures anymore. You're going to get 4K, HD, high definition. The technology's there, folks. This is why I am hesitant to look back to what we were doing in the 90s with grainy surveillance footage.
I could tell it was me.
Yeah.
I could tell it was me.
Even then, it was pretty.
That was pretty clear. Hi, Russell. Russell, what are your thoughts on bringing back photocop to Utah? You there?
Do we lose Russell?
Let's move on to Steve, also in Orem. Do you think we should bring back photocop?
Well, if you bear with me, there's a couple of things I'd like to say. I'm with Dave. I drive to Salt Lake, and I think the speed limit is probably 80, and you got people passing all the time. I am a motorcycle rider, and I just go to whatever the speed limit is being at the time. And a lot of people will go too slow if they're in the left lane. Something needs to be done about that now, about cameras. In Europe, they've had it for a long time, and the new generation cameras will actually, you can see a person specifically, you can see their license or their, of course, right now it's a little bit different because we don't have license plates on the front, so that's probably going to be a challenge. But I do think maybe speed bumps in communities, a lot of it depends on the cost of the camera systems, but speed bumps in my community work great. And I think that should be done a little more in residential.
Well, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. I think we have time for one more caller. Let's get Curtis on the line from Draper. If you're just joining us, we're talking about DC's success with what we perceive as success anyway, with the number of speeding tickets issued, at least in one neighborhood. And they, of course, have almost 500 speed cameras in D.C. now, and that the program is growing. But in one neighborhood alone, the number of tickets dropped from over 7,000 to 300 in a year and a half. Curtis, what do you think about bringing back speed cameras to Utah?
I'm all for it. I live on a feeder street to a high school, and the high school kids, when they get out for lunch, they're just driving 40, 50 miles an hour down my street. And I've, been on email strings with the city begging them, hey, let's look at anything we can do. And they won't put in speed bumps because it can slow things down for ambulances. And they've promised to have the police out there, and they'll be out there for a day or two. And then as soon as they're gone, the kids speed up. And I moved here. I lived for a few years in a city that had these cameras, and I knew where they were, and I never sped. And they were there all the time. It's not dependent on the police being there. So I'm all for having them around to slow things down.
And thanks for your call. One thing they noticed in D.C. is it did free up police officers to do more police work and not just monitoring and handing out speeding tickets. So that does free up police officers to do other things, maybe have better priorities that way. They also anticipated about $1 billion in revenue from Photocop in D.C. over 4 years. And they said, listen, we would love to see lower revenues, but as long as you're speeding, we're going to ding you. And I have no problem. If you're going to pass the law, let's give enforcement the same kind of support.
Straight ahead, EV sales losing traction, and not just because of the lack of stations that are around to juice up your EV batteries. There's something much more curious happening with EV sales and our mentality to stay away from them. Let's talk about that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical. We bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical. We bring wellness home.
Don't be worried, be ready.
KSL News Radio has partnered with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head.
It's Be Ready Utah. Listen to our show, Dave and Dujanovic, for Be Ready tips and tools.
Or you can always find the latest preparation info at BeReadyUtah.gov.
Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote.
Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them. With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise. No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures. It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
Some things are better together, like burgers and fries, movies and popcorn, and auto and home insurance. At Farm Bureau Financial Services, we'll help you bundle your auto and home coverage in one policy, saving you money. And if a storm hits and both are damaged, you'll pay a single deductible. Find an agent at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
Strength comes from confidence. Financial strength comes from knowing you have the best financial resources backing you up. And that starts at Hercules Credit Union. Hercules Credit Union has a new promotional rate of 4.25% on balances. In addition, you'll earn points each time you use your Gold Tier checking debit card. Up to 3 times the points on some categories like grocery. Points can be redeemed for cash back, travel, and gift cards. You're a valued customer, and Hercules professionals want you to always feel that way. You'll have peace of mind with a Hercules checking account with free credit monitoring and no monthly fees. Start at HerculesCU.com. HerculesCU.com. And begin to learn more about Gold Tier checking. HerculesCU.com. Hercules Credit Union. Growing stronger together. Equal housing lender and insured by the NCUA.
He once left a penny in the dish next to a cash register just to see what it felt like to be a big spender. Even his piggy bank earns interest. He avoids wishing wells unless it's his well. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. The cost of providing for your family is skyrocketing, all while Washington wastes billions. It's clearly time for a change.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by friends to elect Frugal Dougal.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the U.S. Surgeon General has called on Congress to require warning labels on social media platforms, similar to those now mandatory on cigarette packaging. He says it's because social media is not safe. Second, Elder David Bednar of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles dedicated the new Layton Temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints this weekend. Third, 1 person is dead following an unusual crash between 2 motorcycles in Cache County. Police say 2 motorcycles were traveling in opposite directions when the riders clipped legs and were thrown from their bikes. Right now, it's 73 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, the Deseret News is reporting that fewer Americans are opting for electric vehicles despite their price cuts. And there's a really curious explanation in this article. We're going to get to it in just a moment. But half of our duo here has an EV. and it ain't me.
It's this
bought
guy
one.
over here.
Yeah, you bought one, so it's really popular in the Noriega family.
It is, and we've loved it. In fact, my son actually asked when he goes out on a date, he's like, Dad, can I take the EV? I guess it's the cool car now. And this isn't like one of the really high-end Teslas. This is the cheapest EV you can get out there. It's the Chevy Bolt. I got it for probably $17,000. Wow. It was used, lightly used, only 20,000 miles. But we love it. It's been great. And I would absolutely buy it again as a second or third car.
Oh.
That's the key. And I think part of the reason why people are not fully embracing EV is because it's a great second or third car. Because if you want to go on a trip, it's a stressor.
It's hard to charge it. It's hard to find a charging station. And
You
you and
have
I
to plan
talked
it
about
out.
that. We'll talk more about the lack of charging stations just to refresh your mind on where America is at with these EV charging stations. We're not, spoiler alert, we're not where we need to be, probably for the Noriegas to buy another EV and have that be your primary vehicle. But this AAA survey shows that, according to the folks that they asked, interest in EVs has dropped 5% year over year. 5%. Doesn't sound significant. It kind of is when you think about how many people buy cars and will buy cars this year. 5% fewer are considering an electric vehicle. It's going in the opposite direction because EVs are supposed to be the thing of the future, the wave of the future. So if we're going backwards in interest, but it could be through experiences like what you're having, Dave.
Well, and the federal government, President Biden has made such a push toward the future of EVs, wants more than half of all vehicle sales just in the next few years to be electric vehicle sales. So to your point, if they are going down at all, that is really concerning, at least if I'm President Biden, because they don't need it just to increase. They need EV sales to skyrocket.
But they've reduced the goal. The feds have reduced the goal. The goal was 60% of all new vehicle production by 2030 would be EVs, and now they've reduced it to like 50%.
Let's get down to next month. It'll be 40%.
There could be a lot of reasons behind that. I don't know what it takes to make an EV. I don't know if there's a supply chain issue. I think it could be a dying interest in EVs. And folks leaning into perhaps something in between, like a hybrid vehicle that gets a lot more miles to the gallon than the gas guzzler does, but isn't quite an EV. Like my vehicle's a hybrid, but it does not require me to plug it in somewhere. I don't have to find an outlet.
So, for example, how much better is your gas mileage in your hybrid?
Okay, so I can't compare apples to apples because I had a sedan before.
Okay.
And it was a 2014 sedan. I bought it used. So this hybrid is a Toyota RAV4. So with the sedan that I was driving, the used sedan, I was getting about 23-ish.
Okay.
In town. A little bit more on the road. In town right now, I just looked this morning, 44.5 miles to the gallon.
Oh, wow.
With
So
my RAV4, which
you're
is
almost
like a
double.
mini SUV kind of thing.
You're
Yeah.
getting twice the mileage as your gas guzzler.
Uh-huh. I noticed it in my budget. And my budget is, for my gas budget, is last time I filled up, I had like 5 miles left on the tank. That's horrible, I know. I was desperate, so I dove into a Walmart out by my house there on 106th, and I filled up for $38. Yeah, and I'll go on that for a couple of weeks. So my gas budget, I think at one point I told you I was almost $300 a month in gas on the other
Right.
car. Yeah, it's about
You're probably
70
half that,
70
at
and
least.
100, yeah. So here's the curious thing to me, why they think perhaps people are shying away from EVs. It's because you look around and you realize that a lot of people aren't switching. So why should I switch? If the goal is to reduce our carbon footprint and save the ozone, make ourselves more green, but you're looking around and others aren't switching. That was the curious part to me, is why should I switch if nobody else around me is switching? Why should I be the only one? What are your thoughts on that?
That didn't play into me buying an EV at all. Zero. I purchased an EV strictly because it made financial sense. I didn't care about, saving the ozone. I didn't care about my carbon emissions. It was strictly a financial decision for me. And if it didn't make sense financially, then I wouldn't have done it. But kind of to your point, I was able to pay for my EV in gas savings alone. So that's why I decided, yes, I'm going to do it. But my car is used 50 miles a day. It's my commute. It's there and back. Maybe it goes up to 75 or 100, but I seldom drive more than 100 miles in a day, so that range anxiety doesn't play in, but maybe a handful of times.
So your stress, though, with your EV is from lack of charging stations.
Big time.
And the government had a goal to put in like 500,000 charging stations across the country. And we just reported, and not by tomorrow, but over the next several years. And we just reported recently that they'd only installed
7. The goal, the funding is all there. It was there for 500,000 charging stations. They've done 7. And here in Utah, they have plans, but it's been years now. I think we're on year 3. They still haven't used that federal money to put in charging stations all up and down I-15.
And you learned the hard way a couple of months ago when you get desperate and you get low on juice in your EV and you can't find a charging station.
I drove around for an hour trying to find a high-speed charger. I was down to my final 3 miles when I finally found one. Yeah, that is range anxiety, my friends. We got to be able to fix that infrastructure problem because that was a nightmare.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A family in Tooele County is thanking the Good Samaritans who they say saved their father's life. He'd had a seizure and fell face first into a campfire. Jamie Kolovich, Joey Espinosa's stepdaughter, told KSL TV that others near the site quickly responded to his wife's cries for help and even drove Joey to the hospital.
If it would have been 20 minutes past, his airway would have closed up, given there was so much swelling from all the burns.
Espinosa now being treated at the burn unit at the University of Utah Hospital, and you can find a GoFundMe for the family's expenses at KSLNewsRadio.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Several large wildfires now burning in California. Fire in northern Los Angeles County blew up to 15,000 acres over the weekend. Winds up to 50 miles an hour expected there again today, and also fires burning in the northern part of the state. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average just barely up on the day, the NASDAQ up a little bit as well. And our KSL weather looks like much cooler than it's been today and tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
When you're getting a new roof installed, you don't want to wonder, when are they going to be done? Or even worse, what are they doing up there? You'll never have to ask when you hire IWC Roofing, because their team of certified installers will be texting you pictures from the roof. You're going to know exactly what's going on and what you're getting for your money. And on most homes, they'll do the entire job in one day. In, out, cleaned up, and they'll even power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now, you think you'd pay a premium for this level of service, but IWC does so many roofs. They get the material for less, and they pass the savings on to you. IWC is an Owens Corning certified platinum contractor. Of course, financing is available. Even better, their summer special, up to $2,000 off your quote. But you have to make the call. $2,000 off right now. Call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Or go to iwcroofingutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Looks like all the accidents have cleared on the I-15 corridor, especially in the Salt Lake Valley. We had a couple of them. Now, that doesn't mean you won't see some slowdowns, especially as people merge on from some of the ramps like 114th South in Draper, as well as 200 North in Kaysville. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty good drive on the east and west side belt routes, I-80 through Parley's Canyon, and most of your city streets. Hey, Utah, summer has come alive, all better in a new vehicle from Murdoch Chevrolet. Right now, take up to $10,000 off a new Silverado 1500. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and breezy today with sustained winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts up to 40. Cool again tomorrow, then warming back into the 90s for the weekend. And right now, 73 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox has declared summertime Utah's phone-free Friday zone. So from mid-June, which is last Friday, till mid-August, he's asking us, can you put away your phones at least for a time on Fridays?
Yes. I want to say yes. I don't know if I can say yes, but yes, I love it in theory. Practically speaking, I might have a migraine going an entire day without having that glorious smartphone in my hand.
So let's walk through the governor's declaration. And this is literally a declaration written looks like it's written in the 1800s. You know,
whereas our lives have been transformed.
But I want to take this quiz to see if you and I are capable of giving up our phones. And if it doesn't work on Fridays for you for whatever reason, does it work another day? Does it work on Saturday or Sunday or Wednesdays? So I want to start with this. He says, whereas the phone-based world we live in greatly affects our emotions and can lead to heightened anxiety, depression, and disconnection from others. What do you feel heightened anxiety, or do you notice with your kids in any way feeling like they're they get more emotional when they are connected to their phone?
Oh, that's a great question because, quite honestly, Debbie, I don't know what my kids are like without their phones. So I don't really have a compare and contrast because they've always had their phones, or they've had their phones for long enough that I've forgotten what it was like, what they were like without their phones. So is it a different child? Is it a heightened anxiety and depression, or is this just the normal anxiety and depression that they have? I don't know if I can compare and contrast.
It's a great dad moment for you to just sit down and ask them, how do you feel when you log on, or you're getting text messages, or do you feel inundated by it all day long? And you might get different responses depending on, my kids are older. And I do know in conversations I had with them that they're younger, when we asked them to park their phones at night after we felt like things were getting out of control, our oldest told us, thank you, because we didn't realize how overwhelmed I was, by notifications all night long and feeling like I had to check a message that came in. And so when it was parked on the kitchen counter, that anxiety went away and they started sleeping through the night. But this part that says disconnection from others, just as an adult, I would say I actually feel more connected, especially to family who live out of state, thanks to Facebook. People I had long lost touch with, my cousins, I can keep track of them. I can post reminders on their pages about how much I love them and I hope they're doing well. So I feel more connected than I did, like, say, back in the 90s when we had to write letters,
I will never write a letter, ever. I don't like writing email. I'm certainly not going to put pen to paper and, get the hand cramp. There is a give and take on this disconnection because, for example, yesterday was Father's Day. My daughter is serving a mission in Paraguay. We talked for an hour. That is a level of connection that was incredible. And I saw her face and we laughed and it was amazing. The disconnection happens when you're sitting around the dinner table. Everyone's got their nose into their phone. We're not communicating. So I can see a disconnection from there. But so it's definitely a give and take when it comes to connection.
Dave and I asking our own selves, could we live up to the governor's ask for phone-free Fridays throughout the summer? Can we put our phones away at least for part of the day, if not the full day on Fridays? And so the declaration goes on to say, whereas, according to the National Institutes of Health, we know smartphone and internet addiction is a very real issue facing our society. And excessive use significantly hurts our relationships. I would agree. And I will admit, I feel after reading that, I checked my phone use time from last week. And I had one day where I was on my phone for 9 hours and 4 minutes.
That's a chunk.
That feels like an addiction.
Yeah.
Now.
And we justify it too.
I will justify it. I will say I use it for work a lot.
Yeah.
I will say I, made a long phone call that day to a good friend, and we spent an hour talking. So I'm sure that was tracked somehow. I mean, I don't know. That's how I justify it, but it doesn't make it right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think far too often we do justify it. I certainly have done this where I say, oh, I've got to be, up to date on the latest news. That's what my job is. I justify it. And then I think, oh, yeah, no, I spent some time watching comedians on TikTok, right? I mean, that's not for work. Can't justify that one. That is pure entertainment.
I had a woman reach out to me over the weekend. I don't know her personally. I just am connected to her through social media. And she said, I've been watching your videos for 40 minutes. It was like...
Sorry, you doom scrolled my feed.
I was a compliment. I took it as a compliment. Yeah. But 40 minutes, that's sounds like something I would do. Don't you go do that. How about this one? He says, we encourage phone-free Friday participants to also start a phone-free date night. Could you do a phone-free date night with your wife, Dave?
I'm a disaster in most ways when it comes to my phone. Like, I admit it's a terrible thing that I do. This is one where I can check the box. The phone-free date night, a phone-free dinner, phone-free family time. I am very good about putting it away, putting it in a backpack. I would never have it, as we're playing pickleball. I'm not running over to check my messages.
We know.
That's one of the few things. Yeah,
we know.
But you know what, Deb? That you say it in jest, but we do a little bit put pressure on each other.
I get a little bit annoyed when I'm texting you.
Why won't he answer?
And that's not right. I should be happy for you that you're taking a break from everything and enjoying a great game of, getting eaten alive at pickleball. But I'm like, well, we need an answer because we need to see if we want to bring somebody on the show. Right. But I want to start looking at that as a positive quality in somebody.
That we're not immediately answering.
I should lean into that behavior more so than saying, oh, well, why isn't he answering? What about the upside down phone, like putting your phone upside down at dinner, like allowing your children to bring their phones to the dinner table, but they put it upside down? Does that qualify as phone-free dinner?
Yeah.
You think it does?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think that?
I think you got to park it away. I think you don't even bring it near the zone. I think there should be a phone-free zone in a couple of places. It should be in the dining room. And the phone-free zone should also be in the bedroom. I understand if you have to because it's your only lifeline. If there were something going wrong in your home in the middle of the night, you got to be able to pick up the phone, or you got to be able to check your kid's location. Or, I was expecting my 18-year-old home by midnight. And nobody. I got to check their location. That's one thing. But if you're bringing, I'm guilty of this, the doom scrolling at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night as I'm getting into bed. Just tell you what happened last night. I went to bed at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I woke up at 11:30. Don't even know when I fell asleep. Social media is blaring in my room. My phone is open. It's like on 3% battery by that point. Lights are all on. But this is why I love what the governor is asking us to do, is he's not just asking our kids to do it. He's also asking us to model it for our own kids. And you model it even if you have adult kids. I have adult kids. What would it mean to them if I just left my phone in the car and walked into the restaurant instead of bringing my phone with me and putting it upside down next to me?
It's one of the things that I saw from a recent report in the Washington Post. I just read it this morning that showed research ties in. They said if you want your kids to get off their phones, parents, you have to model that behavior. You have to get off your phones and your kids will respond in kind. I thought, dang, I wish it was one of those do as I say, not as I do moments. Where I'm like, you guys should be off your phones. I get to stay on mine. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And we've got to model good behavior and our kids will follow.
So I'm going to test myself this Friday, even when we're on the show. I'm going to leave my phone at my desk and see if I can master the show without looking at my phone and text messages and all the other stuff that comes with it. So thank you, Governor. That's great. And let's all try it. Let's try it at home. That's one thing we should try at home. Straight ahead, there is a move among younger adults to move to what we call boring phones. Get away from the smartphones and go to boring phones.
I got a flip phone to replace my iPhone. Can I make it through a week?
Ooh, could you make it through a week with a flip phone? That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. but you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Utah's waters are running high and cold.
Both Jordan Elm and Utah Lake are at capacity. Anything and everything that comes in there has to go downstream.
Join Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News this Thursday for a special broadcast from the Provo River. Swift Water Danger. Thursday from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
The Utah RV Palooza is back and packed with new and used RVs to fit every budget. June 20th through the 22nd, come to the largest free RV show in the area at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. You'll find monthly payments starting under $149 on approved credit for select new RVs like a new 2024 GoPlay 19BH travel trailer. You'll also find huge savings on used motorhomes. We've got select 2023 and 2024 low mileage models from Thor and Jayco heavily discounted. The best deals don't last, so start shopping now at Bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza Sandy. And make sure you tour the full lineup of GoPlay travel trailers, one of the fastest growing RV brands in Utah. Get special financing options like 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. And if you've got a trade, we want it. Get an additional $1,000 toward your travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in. See dealer for details. Admission is free to the Utah RV Palooza, Thursday, June 20th through Saturday, June 22nd at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Sponsored by Bish's RV. Stock number L75163 based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
The IRS deadline has come and gone. So do you owe money to the IRS? If so, you need an ally. Whether you owe the IRS $6,000 or $600,000, whether your tax problems are personal or business, the professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to step in and negotiate your fresh start with the IRS. Here's a happy customer of Allies Tax Relief.
Before calling Allies Tax Relief, I feared the IRS would take all of my assets. I owed them over $562,000. Thankfully, I was referred to Allies and called them for help. They ultimately saved my life from uncertainty. Allies negotiated my giant tax debt to an unbelievable $1,500. They are professionals and they fight the fight for their clients.
Allies Tax Relief will protect your assets from being seized and your paycheck from being garnished. Call right now for your free consultation. 800-296-0772. That's 800-296-0772. Or visit AlliesTaxRelief.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a man who fell into a campfire in Tooele County was rescued by other campers. Second, big wildfires burning in northern and in southern California. And third, Real Salt Lake hasn't lost a match since the first week of March. They have some ties, but no losses. 73 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Could you switch to a boring phone? Get away from your smartphone and go with a boring phone. Nokia announced the boring phone, which looks like a flip phone from the 90s, Dave, and it just has those 90s things like you can call from it and you can take a photo with it. But that's about it. Could you do that?
I don't think so. I don't think I could do it.
You don't?
I don't know if I could. I am so addicted to my phone. I love the technology. I love being able to listen to music and podcasts and audiobooks. I love all of these features so much. If you rip that away, it would leave a a significant hole in my enjoyment.
Well, I think about what we just talked about, the governor's declaration to make Fridays, if you can, phone free for at least the summer. And then combining it with Gen Z, which is, 12 years old to like late 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
Is it early 20s?
I think early mid, yeah.
Mid-20s or whatever. Moving in a direction of getting away from the smartphone because it is addicting to them. It's interfering with their mental health. And then Nokia comes out with this, the boring phone. Let's listen to what CBS reported. She said there was one young adult who moved to a flip phone for a week. So let's figure out how things went for her.
Got a flip phone to replace my iPhone. Can I make it through a week? I had no idea how much time I was spending on iMessage. The flip itself cost $80, but if time is money, I spent a fortune trying to set it up. I'm so glad YouTube exists. And yes, I am vlogging on my work phone, but it's set to airplane mode, so it's only good for film. Honestly, it was texting that was the major roadblock. I missed my group chats. Trying to communicate any information is really hard. I don't care what anyone says, full keyboards are useful, and no amount of T9 typing can change that. I had to make a lot of phone calls. I even called a taxi instead of using an app. But getting off of social media was way easier than I thought. I reached for a book anytime I felt like scrolling. I was more aware of my surroundings, and I honestly felt like I was sleeping better.
She hit a number of things, which I guess I had just not thought about, like group chats. Group chats on a boring phone would probably be far more difficult. I hadn't really thought about that angle. I use group chats every single day.
So here's one guy, it was on TikTok, who said he got rid of his smartphone for 30 days. Let's see.
Start with the cons, and there's a lot of them. In the beginning, I experienced serious waves of FOMO. It was really bad to start, but don't worry, it gets progressively easier to just let it all go. I now need to carry more physical things with me, like my wallet instead of using Apple Pay, or a book to keep me entertained on a train ride. Texting on this thing has been such a hassle that I just started calling people instead, which could be seen as a positive. Lastly, not having a good camera really sucks, but I kind of like the nostalgic feel of this camera.
Okay, so he had a different experience, but a lot of the similar issues. Like you can't text easily on a flip phone.
I had forgotten about Apple Pay. I'd forgotten that that is how.
Who uses Apple Pay?
Oh yeah, I use Apple Pay every time. Every time I go to Maverick,
when
Apple Pay.
When I go places, they don't take it. I guess
Yeah.
I got to find the places that take Apple Pay.
Yeah, it's not enough. I wish it were all over the place. I wish it was
I use an old-fashioned credit card or debit card still.
Oh, Debbie, once you start using Apple Pay and you don't need to go fishing through your wallet to find the card.
You just use the app, the Apple Wallet, and then you tap your phone on the device at the check stand. Is that how that works?
You double click it.
You double click
it brings up the
your
pay.
phone.
Yeah, and then you tap it. It's so easy.
Okay, so you'd have to give that up if you got a flip phone.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's listen to some more positive things.
Okay, moving on to the positives. I have never felt so focused in my life. Because my phone now does so little, I stopped instinctively reaching for it, therefore helping me to focus on things longer. Funny enough, I often get so bored as a result of having just this flip phone, I end up working because I have nothing else to do. Lastly, and most importantly, I kind of think I feel happier. And it's entirely got to do with feeling more present. Living in the present and not in my head helps me focus on things I do have rather than the things that I don't have.
One of the things it would do for me is it would make me far more intentional. And that's what he was saying is I would intentionally work more because I had all this free time that wasn't being eaten up by doom scrolling. And I see great value in that. If you want to do some work right now, with your phone, you pick it up, you can justify it, you read some news headlines, it's all right in front of you. If you had a boring phone and you wanted to catch up on today's news headlines, you'd have to go, sit down, open up your laptop, open up a web browser, log in, and then start intentionally looking at the headlines. I think that's an important part of what I'm doing wrong, is I'm not intentional about my work. I just do it. I do it when I have a spare 5 minutes.
Going back to the 90s, going back to the boring phone, that's what Dave and I are talking about, because it is a trend among Gen Zers and millennials. More and more moving toward getting rid of their smartphones and in favor of a flip phone that does very little. Like you can't doom scroll the internet. You can't be in a group text with a bunch of friends. And if you want to text, it's really hard. I mean, think back. I didn't even know if I could describe that on the radio, like what you had to do to text back then. You just went to the point where it'd be easier if you just walked a letter to their home and dropped it off at their front door than trying to use one of those keypads on a flip phone to send a text message. But that's where the younger generation is going, which surprised me. Because I'm usually like, is there a way I could live without this thing? But then I just dismiss that idea, and I keep living with my smartphone.
I'm hesitant to give ourselves a challenge live on the radio because we haven't talked about this. But, Deb, you and I could do this tomorrow. We could do it on Wednesday or pick a day. Our phones have a quote-unquote boring mode where you could just say, take all the apps, shut them all off except for my phone calls and my text messaging. We could do that on our iPhones right now.
How do my kids get a hold of me then?
Cell phones. I mean, they could make a phone call.
Okay.
Or they could send text messages. So the only apps we would leave or allow for 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever we wanted to do, we could totally do this.
We do it for 2 hours.
2 hours. I was going to say 2 days. Like, let's do it for 2 days. So no social media, no internet, none of that. And if we wanted to, then you got to sit down and open up your computer and be intentional about our work versus just scrolling through on our phones.
So no Apple Pay. You wouldn't be able to use Apple Pay. I wouldn't be able to access news apps at 4:30 in the morning. That's what I usually do. Get up about 4:30, make a cup of coffee, and then use the apps on my phone to access, the latest news stories.
You could use your iPad. You can use your laptop, but not your phone.
Could we communicate with work through our work apps that we're using? If we had it in airplane mode in our cell phone,
you have to do it from your computer. Again, you just can't use your phone. So, that's the key.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying if you're hesitant to do it, I'm just saying, folks, it may be hard to say, I'm going to get rid of my iPhone. I know it cost me $1,100, but I'm going to get rid of it and buy a $100 dumb phone. I'm saying you can dip your toes in the water right now.
See how it goes.
And see if that's even a possibility.
So I'm going to break down the cost for you. How much cheaper it is to have a dumb phone or a boring phone. I don't like using the word dumb phone. A boring phone. I think it's just like any time you can carry a phone in your pocket and it doesn't need to be wired to a wall. It's a pretty smart device.
Yeah.
So could you go with a boring phone and give up your smartphone? And I'll also break down the difference in costs and how much money it'll save you if you went with a boring phone straight ahead. But we're going to take your live phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Let's try to talk Dave into getting a boring phone. 801-575-TALK. Let's take your live calls next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Woman was severely injured after a skydiving accident in Tooele County. The 22-year-old woman hit a roof, may have contacted a power line. The North Tooele Fire District says the woman's an experienced skydiver, but was jumping solo. Still not certain what went wrong with that jump. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, has issued more than 175,000 pardons for low-level marijuana convictions. He says he owes it to people convicted of conduct that isn't illegal anymore.
Rolling out one of the best and most equitable legal markets in the country is incredibly important. But that rollout must go hand in hand with pardoning past conduct, and Maryland is going to lead by example.
Governor Moore says this is the largest state-level pardon ever. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 100 points. The NASDAQ is up by 84. And our KSL weather looks like it'll stay cool through another day and then warm up. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You know, I've talked a lot about how hard water takes years off the life of water heaters, other appliances. I lost a dishwasher because the hard water buildup, it ruptured and flooded my kitchen down into the basement. It was a nightmare. Also, think about the scum, the hard water scum on the shower walls where you almost need a jackhammer to remove it. That is a nightmare as well. Kinetico water softeners are maintenance-free. They don't need adjustments. They use 2/3 less salt than everyone else. It's effective. I love having soft water, but most importantly, I love the way it feels when you take a shower or get out of the bathtub. You feel this soft water result because your skin is soft, it's hydrated, it feels great. Every pore in your body is just celebrating because of soft water. So if you're interested, go ahead and say goodbye to all the hard water miseries that are in your life, that are in your house. Make the investment. Call Kinetico of Utah. Have them come out to your house. They're an authorized Kinetico dealer. Just give them a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are moving along very well right now all across the Wasatch Front, especially on all the major freeways. I-15 typically will have most of our traffic, and it's running quite smoothly both northbound and southbound throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. We still have lane restrictions at the intersection of Redwood Road, 2100 South. That's affecting west and northbound traffic at that intersection. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and breezy today. Sustained winds 15 to 25 miles an hour and gusts up to 40. It'll be cool again tomorrow, then warming back into the 90s for the weekend. Right now, we're at 73 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Could you go with the dumb phone? I actually like the word boring phone better, which is what Nokia has come out with. It's a flip phone. They call it the boring phone. And it does exactly what it sounds like it does. Pretty much nothing. You can make a phone call, a text, that maybe a photo. And that's about it. Could you do it, Dave?
I could.
You've decided you've changed your mind.
I don't want to, but I think I could do it.
Yeah.
And if I'm really being totally honest with myself, I think it would be great for me. I think it really would be great for me.
You're not going to get an argument from me. Yeah, when I see you a lot, I see you with, and I mean this in all sincerity, with your head in your phone.
Yeah.
People probably say the same thing about me. And we're addicted. I'm addicted to my phone. And I'm always in fact, in the break, I was checking for text messages and trying to read everybody's text message. I have 13 text messages in the time that we've been on the show. 801-575-TALK. Could you go with a dumb phone? They're harder, the boring phone. They're harder to text on. Probably couldn't be in a group text, like a group chat, which might be a good thing. Somebody pointed out on our text line at 57500, you wouldn't be able to use maps. Well, I use maps every day to get to work because maps, and KSL News Radio's traffic center help keep me on the right road. Make sure I'm not going to get
stuck in traffic.
Caught in a slowdown. I'm going to give you the prices for a boring phone plan in just a moment. It's a lot cheaper than a smartphone. We're going to walk through that.
Let's start off with Patrick in Riverton. Patrick, what do you think?
Hey, so I think there's a great middle ground here. About 9 months ago, I sat down and I went through my phone and I decided that it was just going to be a tool, not a source of entertainment. And I put some screen time limitations, deleted all of the apps that weren't tools. And it's been a game changer for me. I still get to do all the stuff like podcasts and music and Apple Pay. But there's nothing entertaining on there to keep me going back to it over and over again. There's even a way to disable Safari that you can always undisable it if I need to look something up, but it's just a few extra steps to use Safari that keeps me from using Safari too often. So I think there's a great middle ground where just using your phone as a tool can be a big benefit to people.
It's a mindset shift, and I love that. It's a tool, not an entertainment device. I like it.
Mark in Farmington. What do you think, Mark?
It's interesting. I appreciated your comments, and I love the one about a greater focus. I have a small business and work around loud equipment, so I shifted gears time ago to return calls at a certain time. Again, I do everything from my schedule to billing to Venmo to receiving. Anyway, there's always this little itch on your back to look on your phone, but it's been really an awareness to have to return calls at a certain time. I'm in my 60s, so I remember the day of having to go home and call. But I find that the focus is better. The equipment I work around is dangerous. So I think it's been really good. And, I was thinking about your photographs. Another important aspect of the phone, my understanding is the first photograph ever taken on a cell phone was 1997. So I was thinking back at, it's kind of my memory. I look back and go, oh, yeah, we did that or whatnot. But it's been, just to summarize, it's been really, I think I'm getting sleep. I think I sleep a little better when I don't have that on. Yeah. And then Sunday's an important day for my family, and I leave my phone home. I think it's an excellent option.
That's great. Mark, that's great. And we're getting a lot of insight on what people are doing to get away from their phones. Would you go with the boring phone? It'd be a lot cheaper. Let me run some costs by you. And we want Jake, Carl, hold the line for just a moment. We're going to go through some costs here. I want to bounce this off Dave. The boring phone is about $20-25 a month for the plan.
Okay.
It costs about $70. We heard as high as $80. So let's just say it's $75 to purchase the actual phone. So what is that? If you're $25 a month tops into the plan itself, that's a bargain.
Yeah, you're $100 in with the purchase of the phone, then $20-25 from there on out. So it's a fraction of the cost of your smartphone plans, the cost of the phone and the cost of the plan.
Yeah, and the smartphones, an iPhone 13 is about $629. 5G compatible, I don't know what that means.
It's just the latest technology,
I guess.
Right?
Okay, it makes it super fast. I don't know. It seems like it takes forever, but $629. I thought
and
they were
that's
a lot more
bargain.
than that.
You'll get one easily over $1,000.
Oh yeah, that's got to be the bare bones model. $100 a month for the service plan. That makes sense to me.
And I think aren't we on like the iPhone 15 at this point? So this is looking at.
Are we? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, we're 13 is an older iPhone.
I have an 11. Carl from Provo, do you think you could go with a boring phone and give up the smartphone, or maybe you have already?
That would be difficult for me. There's a lot of advantages to a smartphone that you can't get with a dumb phone, or what was the other phone you called?
Boring phone.
Yeah.
The less exciting phone, let's put it that way. I kind of think we need to manage this, and it's not getting managed. I mean, I have a granddaughter that stays with me, and she was confined to her bedroom for 2 days, and I never saw her. And she was on her media completely.
Yeah.
I think a warning label would be appropriate for all smartphones. And it would say something like this: this device, electronic device, can induce mentally debilitating paralysis similar to the hypnosis of a chicken. And that's kind of what I see in it, you know? And I find myself in the same situation. If I get involved in my phone, I won't get anything done that day. I can play with it for a few minutes, and then you have to lay it down.
You got to be done with it. Carl, thank you so much. Hi, Jake. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
What do you think? Could you give it up? Could you give up? You got to be a Gen Zer if I remember.
I'm pretty close. Okay. I just passed 30, so if that passes for that.
Sure.
So as far as the phone goes, I would love to entertain the thought of doing that. But just as far as the reality of the needs with the smartphones, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, maps are like critical to me because to carry around a paper map is just not a thing anymore. The other thing is like authenticator apps that allow you to get, security to your email or to anything are now on your phone. Healthcare apps are on your phone. I mean, if you get tickets to a concert, it's pretty refreshing to know you can have them on your phone and you don't lose them if you have to carry them via paper. And I couldn't even set up my internet last week because it required the app. I mean, there's just so much utilization in the phone that's almost required now. It almost makes it impossible. But I also have like a home security system that I can now see my front doorbell that requires my phone. It would be null and void otherwise.
You just made me realize how much we rely on our smartphones.
I just counted how many apps I have on my smartphone right here, Deb. Pages and pages and pages. Now, not all of them are downloaded, and I haven't used them all, but these are apps that I have downloaded and used at one time. I have over 250 apps on my phone.
You should go with the Patrick from Riverton method. Patrick from Riverton deleted a lot of the apps and uses his phone just as a tool, not as an entertainment device. Love that advice. Maybe you should do that, Dave.
It's hilarious. I'm looking at some of the ones that I have. I'm like, what in the world am I doing downloading this? 250 apps at one point. I had it downloaded on my phone.
I think you could probably get rid of about 240 of those.
How do I get rid of my Fizz soda drink app, Debbie? How could I possibly live without my...
Straight ahead, the U.S. Surgeon General calling on Congress to mandate, speaking of warning labels, a warning label on social media apps that it's dangerous to a child's mental health. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
How long have you been dealing with joint pain?
in, say, a hip or a shoulder or maybe even your back. And how many things have you tried to make it better, and yet it seems like it's getting worse, and now it may even be risking not being able to do the things you love to do in the outdoors as we start to head to summer? May I suggest you look into QC Kinetics? It's the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, and they have lasting joint pain relief for some with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime, and they have arrived in Salt Lake City. So why would you put it off any longer? They have free consultations right now that could get you back to walking, running, hiking, even playing golf, and being able to move again pain-free. Wouldn't it be worth just getting some answers? Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility, and you can find them now in Mill Creek, Provo, and Bountiful. Call QC Kinetics today. 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987.
State budget directors nicknamed his Reading pen the Bullfighter. He only eats out once a week. Sample day at the supermarket. His car not only stops on a dime, it picks it up, too. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. I'm reusing my state auditor campaign ad to save money. Congress needs to stop wasting money, too. It's clearly time to frugal DC.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by friends to elect frugal Dougal.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
How many of you have been waiting months or even years to get a crown, but don't have $1,200 to $1,500 to get one? Only Crowns offers same-day crowns at a fraction of the cost of your dentist. Plus, you're in and out in under 90 minutes. Save your money and save your time with Only Crowns. They provide an unmatched lifetime warranty. No dental insurance? No problem. Don't let the price of a crown keep you from enjoying good dental health. Only Crowns is here, and there's nothing like it anywhere in Utah. Done fast, done right, just $6.99 per tooth. They'll offer a limited exam, all the x-rays needed, plus a full zirconia crown with a lifetime warranty and no hidden fees. No one else offers that, and it's yours with Only Crowns. Visit Only Crowns next to Shields and Sandy or online at onlycrowns.com and get details, including how to score a Stanley mug for the first 100 appointments, along with a chance to win an electric bike. No purchase necessary. Onlycrowns.com. That's onlycrowns.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the governor of Maryland is issuing pardons for 175,000 people convicted of minor marijuana offenses. Second, a skydiver injured in an accident in Tooele may have hit a power line on the way down. Third, 9 people were injured in a shooting at a water park near Detroit over the weekend. 73 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The U.S. Surgeon General, Dave, he wants Congress to mandate warning labels on social media apps. The bottom line is he wants the social media app to say something along the lines of it's dangerous to your child's mental health. Kind of like what we have on alcohol bottles and also cigarettes. What do you think about this?
We've had warning labels forever on cigarettes, on alcohol, on, and scary stuff too. This causes birth defects. The poison symbol pops up. We have played around with labels forever. We ignore them. We don't pay any attention to them.
I disagree.
You pull down your music and there's explicit lyric content that pops up. Still listen to it. I don't buy that these are doing any good whatsoever.
I think the warning labels, particularly on cigarettes, chased me away from using cigarettes and smoking. Yeah, you see the warning label that causes all kinds of bad stuff. And think back to, I was born in 1967, and I think back to the 70s and even the early 80s when I would see people smoking in every corner of a building. I think it was even allowed indoors for a huge part of my life. It was allowed indoors. Then they made it so you couldn't smoke inside.
Right.
And people went crazy over that.
But that was, I think, a larger campaign, an education campaign.
That tobacco, causes all kinds of health risks.
Yeah, versus just a little warning label.
We're on a campaign trail, though, with mental health-related issues. I feel like a lot of politicians are, that's their platform now. We weren't talking about this a few years ago and the impact that social media and the apps have on kids, the bullying that goes on, the algorithms that feed information into their feed. So I wonder why this is I actually thought, why is this just a thing now? We've had social media in our lives for, it feels like decades now. I didn't really use Facebook until about 11 years ago. And my kids just didn't use it that much because it was kind of newer. But now, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, kids have been using all these apps and Instagram. So I felt like that this ask is, it's about time. So we know, and there's a reason why he's asking Congress, because I thought, well, can't he just do it? He's the U.S. Surgeon General, right? I thought they just walked around with warning labels in their back pockets that they just slapped on things they felt were dangerous to us. But we know that Congress has been talking about this. And in fact, it wasn't too long ago, they had, top CEOs from social media companies like Facebook, and they were grilling them.
Did anyone verify whether it was in fact child sexual abuse material?
Senator, I don't know if every single search result we're following up on, but
did you report the people who wanted it?
Senator, do you want me to answer your question?
Yeah, I want you to answer the question.
There's Zuckerberg just...
There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
And Mark Zuckerberg did exactly that. He turned around to the people and he apologized for any harm that Facebook may have contributed to something along those lines. So I get it. I don't doubt for a second that social media and the apps can be addictive, that it can hurt and it can increase anxiety and depression. I have no doubt. I just am not sure that it's a warning label that pops up that kids are going to open up their Instagram, see this warning label and say, you know what? Now I know better. Now I know that I shouldn't be on this.
So he's leaning on Congress to do this because he doesn't have the authority. They say it actually requires congressional action. And it would regularly remind parents and kids that social media has not been shown to be safe. So I thought that was an interesting way of wording it.
Yeah, interesting way to word
it. It has not been shown to be safe. And that he feels like a lot of parents don't realize this. There are a lot of parents out there allowing their kids to use social media, not realizing that it's not always safe.
And the way they phrase that is interesting to me, Debbie, because they're saying, well, it's not safe, it's not unsafe. We're just not quite sure what it is. We think that it's, whereas the cigarette label says, this causes cancer. It's a known carcinogen. It is a very clear, if you do this, then this will happen.
But you're saying we haven't quite connected the dots in the same way?
We can't quite quantify how much of an impact, how much anxiety it's going to give you, because I'll be honest, I'm on it more than any of my kids. So whether it's social media or my phone, I don't feel any anxiety or depression. Now, maybe it's because I'm an adult, I'm older, I can cope, I can handle these things, I have more perspective, perhaps. But it's not affecting each kid the same. Some kids are totally fine, no anxiety, no depression because of social media. That's not the case with alcohol and drugs. You know, they will impair you every single time, right? Or they will lead to some health risks. That's a hard tie.
Dave and I talking about the U.S. Surgeon General demanding that Congress mandate warning labels on social media that our kids use, warning that that you can suffer, mental health side effects because of use of social media apps. One of the things that he also said, he suggests that parents restrict their kids' social media use, that 13 is too young to join apps. I agree. I think 13 is so young yet. Why not just let kids be kids for longer? And I remember when my 13-year-old, she might have been 14 at the time, called me at work and said, I want to start an Instagram. And my heart melted. So I thought, I can't do that.
it.
I don't even know what it is. And so we set down some rules. First of all, I had to be able to, I think I had to start an Instagram. I didn't have one at the time. And I had to be connected to her on Instagram. So I was able to follow her. And then I was able to check her posts and also check her phone. I don't even know that she must have just gotten a smartphone, because our older kids were like 15 when they got one. We were like, no, you don't get a smartphone till you're 15. And I would not let her post a photo of her face. If she wanted to post a photo of her face, she had to be blowing up bubble gum or something in her face, like a big bubble in her face, in order to post it. But she could post pictures.
AI is not scraping her face off her accounts.
She could post pictures of flowers, or she could post a picture of a beautiful sunset that she'd captured on her low-quality iPhone. But she could not post a photo of herself on Instagram. But he says not even 13. That's too young.
And I love that you, as a parent, created these rules. Right. The problem I have with 13 years old, and if the Surgeon General came in and Congress passed and said, 13 is the new age, we have so many strange age restrictions. You can drive at 16, you can vote at 18, but you can't smoke until you're 19, no alcohol or gambling till you're 21. We have all these arbitrary numbers. And I think that what is being lost is the focus on how do we get kids of all ages prepared and understanding the pros and the cons of social media.
Straight ahead, think about the last presidential election when we had debates like this.
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
CNN, which is hosting this debate, the next debate on June 27th, came up with some new rules.
Amazing rules, Deb. Amazing rules.
That's next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Thousands of Utahns went without air conditioning or lights for several hours this weekend because of power outages across the state. At one point, over 20,000 homes and businesses were without electricity. Rocky Mountain Power's Dave Eskelson says all the outages were separate incidents.
They're all different causes. I think, each summer when we have, the first run of really hot weather, there are some trouble spots on our system that tend to present themselves.
He says more power outages may continue to happen as temperatures heat up, so it's important to be prepared to go without electricity for a few hours at any time. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At least 28 shots were fired at a water park in the Detroit suburb of Rochester Hills over the weekend. 9 people were hurt. Mayor Brian Barnett.
When I got on scene, I started to cry because I know what a splash pad is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place where people gather, where families make memories.
The attacker left behind a gun that was then traced to a home a short distance away. The police say the suspected shooter died by suicide. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 89 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is up 105. And our KSL weather looks like cool weather sticks with us for another day or so. KSL News Time, 11:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Hi, Doug Wright here with one more little experiment you can do at home. In a pan of water, all you have to do is stir in limestone, calcium, magnesium particles, and then heat that whole mess up on the stove. And you know what, on second thought, not such a good idea, because limestone, calcium, and magnesium particles heated in water will clump and stick to your pan like concrete, which incidentally is exactly what's going on inside your water heater. Think about it, limestone, calcium, magnesium, that's what makes hard water hard. And trust me on this, if you live in northern Utah, your home has hard water. So call Connecticut of Utah. I'll give you the number in a moment. They'll test your water's hardness for free, and they'll show you the patented design features that make Connecticut water softeners work better than any other. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com and call now while it's on your mind.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products, like Johnson's Baby Powder and Shower to Shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalcclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
A nice and quiet drive on the Valley freeways, and you're good to go north or southbound I-15 between Ogden and Provo. But again, crews have right lanes blocked off from the water main break repair at Redwood Road and 2100 South. Start your summer drive with a new auto loan from Cypress Credit Union and enjoy competitive rates and flexible terms. Visit cypresscu.com or ask for Cypress at the dealership. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy, breezy today with sustained winds 15 to 25 miles an hour and gusts up to 40. Then tomorrow it's cool again, warming back into the 90s toward the weekend. Right now, 73 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
The presidential debate is just right around the corner. It's June 27th. And there's a whole host of rules that Dave he's really excited about. We're going to talk to Boyd about it.
They are incredible. I have been shouting from the rooftops for years. I'm like, the solutions to debates are so easy, and the networks, because they like a little spicy TV, I guess, have chosen not to implement the most simple changes. And finally, they're going to do it.
Because we've heard a lot of this over the years.
By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've
He
never
wouldn't
seen
know a
before.
suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
You
I just
agree.
want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
That's what we listened to, folks.
Oh,
that wasn't just one bad back and forth. This was every question. Every question. And Boyd, you and I, over the years, have been slowly crafting the perfect
debate. It's
the
coming.
perfect debate.
When we rule the world, Dave.
We're getting closer.
we made some steps, very baby steps.
So CNN is hosting this debate. It'll be moderated by
Jake Tapper.
Yeah. And they have put out some rules how this debate will go. Things like no audience, no notes. What does that mean, Boyd?
That means you get a blank sheet of paper. You can scribble some things as you go, but you can't bring any cards in. You can't bring any papers in. Just you at the podium. And I think they do get a Sharpie pen and a pad of paper.
So these are the two presidential candidates won't have any notes with them. So that sounds like they were bringing in cheat sheets before.
Yeah, and they've had a few like that where they've been kind of thumbing through. Well, let me turn to my answer for that particular question.
The one that Dave loves the most.
No interrupting.
Yeah, cut the mic.
They literally have had this technology since the dawn of time, since microphones were first created.
It's actually the first televised debate in 1960.
They would cut
It's
it
all
out.
there.
Yeah, it's very easy. When I ask Boyd Matheson a question, then you just cut Dave Noriega's mic, and then I can't interrupt. And that's what I've been begging for so long. Yeah. Whoever gets asked the question, that's the only mic that works, folks.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, imagine how that would have changed the dynamic in 2016 and 2020 on both the Democratic and the Republican primaries if mics had been cut. It would have been a very different dynamic, and I think the results actually would have been different as well.
How have the candidates accepted these rules? Is everybody all in on this?
Everybody's kind of getting what they want. This is like a big prize fight in the old days where, I want the gloves that are, an ounce less, or I want the ring to be a little bit smaller. And so they kind of go back and forth on that. But both camps are super happy with what this is, and they're most happy that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will not be the third member of the stage.
Oh.
And that's a big one. CNN.
It's the biggest one.
Yeah.
It is the biggest reason why both camps so rapidly agreed with CNN to do the debate on the 27th.
So let's talk about the no audience, how that will affect each candidate. What do you think about that, saying, you know what, we're clearing it. It's going to be a couple podiums, two candidates, and a moderator.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So I actually think this helps President Biden in that there are not distractions. There are not things that are going to be calling for his attention or getting him off at all. I think it hurts former President Trump because from an energy standpoint, because he draws energy from a big crowd and he likes the reaction to, one of those one-liners or a little zinger. And so that's an interesting dynamic that I think it helps President Biden stay focused and on path. And I think it's more of a challenge for someone who's used to playing to the crowd like the former president.
One area where I think no audience will hurt President Biden is the fact if he tries any quippy one-liner and it is crickets and there is no, ooh and ah, President Trump can deliver a line with kind of a smirk and a wink. President Biden doesn't have that skill. So, and we've seen this occasionally where he tries to go low or he says something
Whispers
a little
into the mic.
Yes, and it does not work without an audience.
Yeah, so these are all really fascinating things that will start playing out as they do their preparation for the debate. And that is, do you try to tell a joke? Do you try to tell that story? Do you try to do something that's a little bit different that will play? Again, the audience isn't in the room. The audience is, watching at home or watching on little digital devices all over the place. So how will your answer play in that space is the real question.
And the difference between President Biden and former President Trump when it comes to, I want to say, notes, and there will be no notes, which is new at this debate on June 27th, is that Trump seems to be a lot better off the cuff in an ad lib situation than President Biden. President Biden seems to be kind of connected to teleprompter, at least in my view. So I feel like those notes could potentially hurt Biden more so than Trump. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
though, Boyd?
I think the preparation will be just fascinating to see how the Biden campaign team goes about that and how they prep him, because he's also not good when he's overly scripted or overly memorized. He doesn't get to be, Joe Biden from Scranton. He likes to play into that space, and so he could get over-scripted, which could be real complicating for him. I think the other challenge for President Biden is really going to be a messaging component, which is what they have to really get down to. President Biden has to show he's got to do something like he did at the State of the Union address. He's got to be high energy. He's got to be laser focused. He's got to be passionate and show that he's up to the job, has the energy and the vitality to do it. I think the former president has to do just the opposite. He has to prove he can be controlled and presidential, and that he actually has a vision moving forward, not just a list of grievances that you can rattle off and get good crowd reaction to. So it's going to be a tale of two debates in terms of how both these camps are going at it.
I didn't realize this was part of what was happening in the debates, but no staff help. And apparently during commercial breaks, they would have staff come out and coach the candidate up a little bit. That's gone.
Yeah.
How does that affect? And how much was that really helping the candidates?
Yeah, in most cases, it's, can you get me a water? I think the most famous one was Carly Fiorina when they did the big debate in 2016, and there was no woman's bathroom anywhere close. She had to go in high heels over grates for like a half a mile to get to a restroom in a commercial break at a debate. So that was bad staffing. So I think that's most of what happens there. But there is something within a debate like that, with those kind of stakes on the line, where having a campaign aide come up and look in the eyes and say, "Okay, boss, you're getting a little hot," or what, you got to zero in, or I really need you to bring this in the next segment. So that staffing does make a difference, especially for both. These are both older candidates. Having someone in your ear to remind you of just one thing to focus on in the next portion of the debate
that's important.
makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that is important. I think when you're in that position, you realize how important it is to have somebody bring you back to focus. In 30 seconds, Boyd, RFK, why was he not invited on the debate stage?
So according to CNN, CNN is not taking the fact that it appears that he will appear on enough state ballots, but a lot of them don't have to certify until the fall. And so there's a number of states that have not certified the signatures that RFK Jr. has submitted to be on the ballot. So they're saying those aren't enough, so you technically couldn't win, so you're not on. He's also pretty close in terms of the other requirement, which was to be at about 15% polling in the national polls, and he seems to be right around that one. But this was clearly, if ever you can use the collusion word, both the Biden and the Trump camps and CNN were all too happy to make this little triangle to make this one happen so that he would not be on the debate stage.
CNN loves it because they get the exclusivity, and President Biden and Trump obviously don't want a third.
They don't want someone who's going to get them off schedule because they want to be singularly focused on each other and on that vision. So that'll be the real test.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. We look forward to Inside Sources today at 1.
Next, we know that Utah's median home price is about $500,000, $500,000. But Dave and I have a list of cities across the United States that are half the price when it comes to buying a home. We're going to go through those cities next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
The Utah RV Palooza is back and packed with new and used RVs to fit every budget. June 20th through the 22nd, come to the largest free RV show in the area at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. You'll find monthly payments starting under $149 on approved credit for select new RVs like a new 2024 GoPlay 19 BH travel trailer. You'll also find huge savings on used motorhomes. We've got select 2023 and 2024 low mileage models from Thor and Jayco heavily discounted. The best deals don't last, so start shopping now at Bishes.com/ Utah RV Palooza Sandy. And make sure you tour the full lineup of Go Play travel trailers, one of the fastest growing RV brands in Utah. Get special financing options like 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. And if you've got a trade, we want it. Get an additional $1,000 towards your travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in. See dealer for details. Admission is free to the Utah RV Palooza, Thursday, June 20th through Saturday, June 22nd at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Sponsored by Bish's RV. Stock number L75163 based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
Utah's waters are running high and cold.
Both Jordan Elm and Utah Lake are at capacity. Anything and everything that comes in there has to go downstream.
Join Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News this Thursday for a special broadcast from the Provo River. Swift water danger. Thursday from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream. But it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Gary Herbert, 17th Governor of Utah. I'm asking for your support to re-elect Celeste Malloy to the U.S. House of Representatives. Celeste has consistently shown herself to be a smart, bold, and principled constitutional conservative who has worked tirelessly to represent our great state. In these uncertain times, proven expertise is what we need, not inexperience. Join me in supporting Celeste Malloy for re-election to Congress.
I'm Celeste Malloy, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah is a full-service parking lot paving, repair, and maintenance company servicing the Wasatch Front. Contact GoPave Utah today. GoPaveUtah.com.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard-of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, we had power outages all across Utah over the weekend. Rocky Mountain Power blames them on the arrival of hot weather. Second, 8 people were injured in a shooting at a splash pad near Detroit. Third, there's a big wildfire burning near L.A., another in Northern California's wine country. 73 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Priced out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
There's a new report out in the category of severely unaffordable housing markets. There sits Salt Lake City. This report that was put together in partnership with Chapman University and Frontier Center for Public Policy, Dave, looked at, international housing markets, so all over the world, and there we sit in a group of 17 of severely unaffordable housing markets.
The only thing worse than severely unaffordable, according to this study, is impossibly unaffordable. And there's only 5 cities that land in impossibly unaffordable. The next group of cities, Utah, Salt Lake, hits up there with Boston, Seattle, Denver, Las Vegas.
Tucson's on that list, too. Tucson, Arizona. What is going on in Tucson? And you look at the impossibly unaffordable markets. These are the classic unaffordable markets we've talked about for years. You talk about like Los Angeles, San Diego, Honolulu, San Francisco. Utah right now, we're sitting at a median home price of about $500,000. And quite often from what I'm seeing on, when they're posted for sale, whether that's on a classifieds ad or on the listing service, a lot of these need work. So it's $500,000 to just get into the home, and then you've got to start replacing the roof, or, it's got a 1970s kitchen. So this, to me, I look at this and I feel defeated, particularly for my kids who, don't want to leave Utah, but can't afford to stay here either.
And in part because we live in this bubble, we'll call it the bubble of Utah, we don't or have lost understanding of what the rest of the country looks like and how affordable many cities are. And I'm not talking about middle of nowhere Kansas. Like, of course, that's going to be way cheaper than downtown Salt Lake. So we have to compare apples to apples. Let's look around the country, similarly sized cities.
Okay.
What are they paying for a similar home?
Well, I'm going to start with the place you just cited. So this study cites Louisville, Kentucky. Now, I don't know if that's middle of nowhere. I don't remember if I've been to Louisville.
Yeah.
Have you been?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, it's good
Louisville.
size. Yeah.
Okay. Their median home price is $267,000.
Can you imagine?
No.
If you
Not
came
anymore.
across a home for $265,000 right now here in Utah, there would be a bidding war that you've never seen before. You would have 10,000 offers. If you had a real home, and I'm talking like not an oversized tough shed. An oversized tough shed probably pulls 265. But if you had a normal home
Single
here
family?
in Utah for
A
yeah,
single family home.
yeah, 265.
Mm-hmm. Cincinnati, Ohio, $271K.
Imagine
I could live
how
in
many,
Ohio.
Oh, Cincinnati would be fantastic. Great sports town. They have
Do they have a river running through it too?
Yeah. What I love is they have an amazing roller coaster park. Kings Island is the greatest roller. It's an entire amusement park of roller coasters. They have one that is 8 minutes long, the Monster, or the Beast Monster, something like that.
So you're saying it's a real town where you could do real things.
Incredible. And the Cincinnati Reds play there. So that's a double bonus. But yeah, these are, how much was it in Cincinnati?
271.
How many Utahns right now that are homeowners could cash out in just their equity that they've made over a few years?
And buy 2 homes in Cincinnati.
Buy 2 homes, just pay straight up cash and never have a mortgage again.
Think all these people now on I-15 heading to Cincinnati.
Like road trip.
This is food for thought. It really is. You talk about, how expensive it is here at $500K. I'm going to say it's even more expensive than that, right? $600, $700K to get into a single family home. And you compare it to other places around the nation. According to this new study, Utah is in this category with about 17 other cities where we're considered to be severely unaffordable. And as Dave pointed out, the only other category above us is impossibly unaffordable, which is like the LAs and the Honolulus. So we're severely unaffordable, along with, of all things, Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, Tucson and Phoenix. Don't live there, I guess.
Seattle. And now we're talking about where you can get a 2-for-1 special on homes. Okay, we've gone through Louisville and Cincinnati. What about Oklahoma City? I was in Oklahoma a few years ago. They deal with tornadoes there. So I look at weather. A lot of times, a lot of people would consider us to have kind of mild weather. I don't know. Sometimes in the middle of a, blizzard, I feel like I'm not. This is not mild. But you got, would you give up a snowstorm for a tornado warning?
Right.
I'd say no thanks to the tornado warning. Detroit. Is it 90,000? I don't know that that's 90. Is it 190,000? Can we double check our stats on Detroit? Because that seems really low. Like we've been buying 5 or 6 homes in Detroit. Let's just make sure that number's right. It looks low to me. Buffalo, 209K, Buffalo, New York.
It just seems like we're talking about the early 2000s. It feels like we're 20 years ago. This is what these homes are worth.
The only time I hear anything about Buffalo is when they're in a total shutdown because of a blizzard.
The nor'easter. The nor'easter blew through and laid 13 feet of snow.
It's like I cry on the way to work when there's 2 inches of snow. So going outside the United States, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I've heard Canada's really beautiful. I've been there. It's a great they're really nice there. Everybody's really nice. I haven't been to Edmonton, but really nice. Canadians are super, super kind. Cleveland, 90,000 is right for Detroit. What do you get for 90,000 in Detroit? Let's look that up in the break. Let's figure out what you get for 90 grand in Detroit. Cleveland, Ohio, 135K. St. Louis, 235K. Have you been there?
And some of these, yes, I've passed through St. Louis. Some of these larger cities, whether it's St. Louis, Cleveland, Detroit, I've been through these. Yeah, they've fallen on some hard times. They've had some real struggles economically. So that's part of the problem is when you're a vibrant, hot city, everyone wants to move in, then obviously prices go up. So it's not terribly surprising that some of these big-name cities that have great history, tons of businesses and sports in these cities, they've fallen on hard times and prices have collapsed.
Summer in St. Louis, when I was there many years ago, reminded me of being wrapped in like 4 or 5 wool blankets, and your hair will never do anything that you want it to. So humid there. So humid there. Rochester, New York, 200K is the price of a home. Dave and I talking about this study that came out from Chapman University about severely unaffordable housing markets in Utah. Salt Lake City fell in that category, so now we're looking at less expensive places to live. So Rochester, New York, and then the one you've been wanting to talk about, the number 1 most affordable major city, and they use different metrics to figure this out, not just price, $235,000 in Pittsburgh. Could you live in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I say, sure. That'd be. I think you have to look at how much less could you make if you were going to live in Pittsburgh, right? I mean,
pay cut?
You'd have to, because you're not getting New York salaries to live in Pittsburgh. Part of the reason you get New York salaries is because New York is an expensive place to live and they're inflated. So how much of a salary hit could you take?
You could telecommute, though, anymore.
Sometimes that's an opportunity.
So you could telecommute, live in a cheaper city, take the equity from your home that you've sold, not only pay cash, but also invest it. I mean, we've got this whole thing mapped out here.
Well, imagine how much different your life would be and your finances would be if you didn't have to come up with a mortgage payment every single month.
But you'd have to live in Pittsburgh.
Home of the Steelers. They invented ketchup on fries, apparently. That's great claim to fame. We've got fry sauce, so we're basically just like Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's a sacrifice, right? But boy, that is an affordable home on a level we haven't seen in decades.
So let's take phone calls. Could you live in Pittsburgh? Could you sell your home in Salt Lake City so you could afford to pay cash for a home in Pittsburgh at $235,000? 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Let's take your live calls next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top story this hour. 5 juveniles ended up in the hospital in critical condition after a crash in South Jordan Sunday morning. Police say the car went through a fence onto Bangor Highway near 102nd South around 2:30 in the morning. The car crossed all lanes of traffic and hit a cement barrier. One remained in critical condition this morning. The rest released after being treated. Police say they're looking to see if speed and possible impairment contributed to that crash. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Firefighters in northern and southern California battling wildfires that broke out in windy and hot weather over the weekend. ABC's Alex Stone has more.
We got an update from firefighters battling the Point Fire in the Sonoma County wine country in Northern California near the town of Healdsburg. They say firefighters have made a huge amount of progress, and last night the wind died down, the flames are calmer. They're working on reinforcing fire lines they've created, so that's a bit of relief for people who live around that fire.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day 119 points. The NASDAQ is up 151. And our KSL weather, another cool day, then it heats back up. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and I joined them several months ago, is the results were so fantastic. It kept me motivated. And whenever you join a weight loss program or you're trying to lose weight, motivation is key in my experience. You just have to stay excited about the program after the initial couple days wears off. But I lost 57 pounds in 60 days, and because I was seeing every time I stepped on a scale, I lost a pound, I lost a pound and a half. This was very easy to say, you know what? I'm going to eat some more broccoli. I'm going to eat some more lean chicken. This was great thing about Salt Lake City Fat Loss is they held my hand through the entire process, kept me motivated. If I stalled out or I struggled, they would be able to give me this very personalized plan to get me back on track. And again, like I said, results were amazing. If you're interested in losing some weight, go ahead and schedule a free consultation with Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website, slcfatloss.com. It's just a few minutes. Get that consultation. They can kind of give you an idea of how easy or hard it'll be for you. But check it out at slcfatloss.com.
Debbie Myler, wife of Attorney General candidate Frank Myler. Candidates speak theoretically about helping the oppressed and abused. Frank actually does that. I know because I work with him. He's actively fought these battles for years, providing free legal advice to people in some of the most desperate situations. I've seen the fruits of Frank's labors. We want an Attorney General who cares. Frank is that person. Vote Frank Myler for Utah Attorney General.
This is Frank Myler, and I approve this ad. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
All clear on your Valley freeways. We do have a crash in Ogden, Wall Avenue at 20th Street in Weber County. Get down to the Utah Arts Festival, June 28th through June 30th, to celebrate art, including music, dance, film, street performers, and hands-on fun for kids of all ages. Buy tickets at uaf.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and breezy today with sustained winds, 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts up to 40. Cool again tomorrow, then warming back into the 90s toward the weekend. And right now, 73 degrees and mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Detroit, Michigan, home of the $99,000 house.
We were so unconvinced that there was a house in America at $99,000. We had our producer check it not once, not twice, but 3 times.
She loaded us up with a $99,000 house on Zillow. There's the $85,000 house. The $99,000 home is 5 bedrooms, couple of bathrooms, 2,300 square feet. Sounds like it might be in the heart of Detroit. Not too familiar with Detroit, but it's a single family house. And then you went online independently, and then you found an $800,000 home in Detroit. Prices may vary.
Debbie, this would be a $2 million home.
In Utah?
Yeah, at least $2.5 million home. It's 5,000 square feet. It's got 5 bedrooms, 5 baths. It's brand new. It looks incredible. An $800,000 home, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's an expensive home.
Yeah,
I get it.
true. Yeah.
But those are all over Utah.
The reason we're talking about this is there's a new report out that says Salt Lake's, the housing market here is severely unaffordable. And we sit in that category with 17 cities around the United States, including cities like Seattle, like Phoenix, like Las Vegas. And there's only one category that's worse, and that is the impossibly unaffordable category, which are the typical, the usual suspects, right? That's Los Angeles, the San Francisco, the Honolulus. We expect housing prices to be out of reach in those cities. It's $500,000. That's the median home price in Utah. And we are so attached to where we live and what we love that I think we kind of operate in a silo, Dave, when it comes to our finances. Like, we'll always live in Utah, so we'll always pay more for a house. And, what's going to happen once the Olympics come in 2034? The announcement hasn't officially been made yet. Of course, you'll hear it here live on KSL News Radio when it does happen on July 24th. But we get so stuck in our ways that we don't realize for the equity in our home, we could buy 4 $99,000 homes in Detroit.
Yeah. And we were talking about how much what a mortgage payment looks like for a $500,000 home with essentially, let's just say nothing, no money down. A $500,000 loan, that's a mortgage payment of $3,500 a month.
Ouch.
If you buy essentially the exact same home in Pittsburgh for $235,000, it's $1,600. So the difference is $1,600 a month mortgage or a $3,500 a month mortgage. That is a completely different lifestyle.
It's a game changer.
It's a complete and total game changer.
Yeah. 801-575-TALK. Could you live in a place like Pittsburgh? Let's throw Detroit in there. 801-575-TALK. Hi, Steve. Do we want to start with Steve? Hi, Steve.
Hi. I've lived in Cincinnati and Detroit, and I could actually live there. Mexico would be better. You could get a couple of $1 million. I just left Mexico, and there's a couple of $1 million homes that I could get with my home if I sold it. But I did want to mention that I'm one of the problem. I've owned 6 homes, and my first home in Salt Lake was $12,500 at 4%, which I never thought I'd ever get 4%. And then, of course, I continued going up. And my current home I bought for $170,000, and it's worth maybe $800,000-$900,000. So people that want to stay here, and I'm one of the problems because we just like Utah, and it's very difficult for children to get into a home.
It is so hard. Thank you so much, Steve, for your call. Let's go to Marcy in South Jordan. Would you live somewhere else besides South Jordan?
I just moved 6 months ago after 4 years here in the Valley, Salt Lake Valley, and I'm visiting right now.
Oh.
And I love it here. Would I live somewhere else? I have lived other places. I've lived outside of Detroit and was kind of shocked to find out that the average home price is really low, but I got an insider tip from a colleague of mine, and she said, do not live in Detroit. You need to live, and they're mile roads. And this is like 20 years ago. She said, don't live any closer than 12 Mile Road. Now, I don't know what they've done to improve things, but when you look at Zillow, you're not getting the whole picture. And I don't know why that house was so cheap and it's huge, but there's a problem there.
You think so?
So, I know apples and apples, and you're on lack of information. But can I quick say I moved to Georgetown, Texas, which I find out now is the fastest growing of its size. It's a suburb outside of Austin. And having moved there and cashed in pretty well on our house here, it wasn't a very big house. We bought a smaller house there, came away with like $100,000 extra. But the property taxes, even with them just lowering them, and, that is really something to consider, because everybody's like, oh, you don't have to pay any income tax down there. Yeah, but they collect it in other forms.
Right.
And property tax is huge. So we are coming out paying more taxes down there on a smaller house than here in Salt Lake City by a fair amount more overall tax.
You have to do all the math, not just some of the math. Marcy, great information. Hi, Beck.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Could you live in Pittsburgh for $230,000?
I don't think I would, and the reason why is it's expensive to live here. I'll give it to you, but I just don't know that I could raise a family outside of Utah.
So you're willing to pay a premium?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm born and raised in Utah, and now as I'm looking to start my own family, I just realized I don't know that I could take them outside of Utah. I really don't. And it's hard because it is more expensive, but it really is worth it.
The dollar signs make sense, but the emotional connection and also the benefits of living in Utah, keep us here. That's what keeps us here.
Well, I look at it and I think, though, there's no way I'm going to have my kids go try to buy Steve's home for $800,000 or $900,000. If he bought it for $120,000 and he's making 8-9 times that, that's great for Steve. But I think I would encourage my kids and say, instead of becoming house poor on a level that you can barely comprehend, why not move out, live somewhere else? Go ahead, live in Pittsburgh, live in Detroit, and see if you can work your way back. But house poor is a tough way to live.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's Ultimate Speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call 1-800-501-6000 or go to ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 6/23/24, restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabits per second internet and security edge. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabits per second of Verizon 5G Business, AT&T Wireless Broadband, and T-Mobile for Business. Up to 3 times download for existing essential and standard internet customers.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Free is key during Craftsman Days at Lowe's. Right now, get 1 free Select V20 tool when you buy a Select Battery 2-pack. Plus, get your choice of a V20 drill or impact driver kit for $69. Don't miss your chance to save on the high-quality, high-performance tools you need during Craftsman Days. Because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/19. While supplies last. Selection varies by location.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
He sponsored the largest tax cut in Utah's history and complains it wasn't big enough. He always rounds numbers down. He bought a turtle for a family pet because it eats less. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. I'm reusing my state auditor campaign ad to save money. Congress needs to stop wasting money too. It's clearly time to frugal DC.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by friends to elect Frugal Dougal.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Project Human Dignity is an initiative led by the Utah Impact Partnership that aims to address homelessness with determination and compassion. Jake Boyer, treasurer of the Utah Impact Partnership and CEO of Boyer Company, shares more.
In 2022, more than 8,600 people experienced homelessness for the first time. 90% of the rise came from outside of Salt Lake County, emphasizing the scope of this issue. Project Human Dignity is a community initiative in Utah that is driving transformative action across the state to tackle homelessness. We are committed to maintaining respect and order in our communities and finding sustainable solutions. Our efforts bring together community leaders, housing and mental health experts, emergency responders, elected officials, and service providers. We are dedicated to deepening our community's understanding of homelessness, fostering empathy, and tackling the challenges head-on. The roots of homelessness are complex and multifaceted. Situational homelessness often arises from economic challenges such as employment, education, or housing issues. Chronic homelessness can stem from traumatic experiences, mental health issues, and substance abuse disorders. We firmly believe that homelessness should not mean hopelessness. We invite all Utahns to join this movement. Together, we can anchor our community in dignity and shared prosperity. The work is far from over.
The Utah Impact Partnership brings together business and civic leaders to address Utah's most pressing challenges, such as homelessness. Learn more about their initiative at projecthumandignity.org. This is Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, 5 teenagers seriously hurt in a crash in South Jordan on Sunday. Second, there are big wildfires burning in northern and in southern California. And third, strong winds are increasing the fire danger here in Utah today. 73 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Our top story had to do with bringing back PhotoCop to Utah. Those are the speed cameras that are seeing a ton of success, Dave, in D.C., where they've started installing these speed cameras, I'd say a couple of years ago, and they noticed a significant, I mean, it is jaw-dropping, the amount of speeding tickets that were being given out before speed cameras went up compared to now.
And I wonder why we're not having this conversation in the state legislature. Because we had Senator Todd Weiler join us, and we said, hey, this is something we used to do back in the 90s. We had some photocop, and then we reversed course on it.
We did. Yeah, and we spoke to him in the 9 o'clock hour about this. Let's walk through the stats that we're seeing. The Washington Post has done some excellent reporting on this. Let our listeners in who didn't hear the 9 o'clock hour on what those speeding tickets show now compared to 2022, Dave, and then talk about why we don't have photocop in Utah. But you caught this article, and it caught your eye because of it's working. It seems like it's working.
Well, not only is it working, it's working phenomenally well. So they took a couple of very busy streets and they were tracking them. And when they installed the photocop in the first few months, they gave out over 7,000 citations, speeding citations on this busy street in 1 month, over 7,000. Because it wasn't just arbitrarily letting someone go because they get a warning. If you broke it, if you were speeding, boom, you get a citation. They had over 7,000 on this street.
February of 2022.
Yeah, February.
7,500. Yeah.
7,500.
Right. And then you fast forward to November 2023, and they had how many?
316. We went from 7,500 citations to 316.
Now, these are the cameras that are attached to light poles. They're attached to traffic signals, and they are able to detect when somebody's going. Usually it's a little more than like 5 miles over. I think they give some sort of forgiveness, right? There's 5 mile over. But you're going 10 or 20 miles over the speed limit. It's going to capture a photo of you. It's going to send a photo and a ticket to your house. At least that was my experience. When we did have photocop in Utah back in the 1990s, I got caught on camera speeding down Redwood Road at night. It was probably about 9:45. I was on my way to a live shot. I worked at Channel 4 News at the time, right by Redwood Road. Jumped onto that road and I guess pedaled to the metal to make it to the live shot. And photo radar, I remember seeing the flash. And then I got the ticket in the mail. And then I went before a judge. Now, we got rid of it here. Utah legislature essentially banned it. That might be too strong of a word because they have brought it back. If you can use it in school zones and you can use it in some neighborhoods where the speed limit's under 30 miles an hour. But the trick is you got to have a cop sitting there with it, sitting with the photo radar device. So this goes back to, is it constitutional? Is it unconstitutional? Should you be allowed to face your accuser in the moment? And we talked to Senator Todd Weiler, State Senator Todd Weiler, who called the show about this in the 9 o'clock hour.
I haven't heard much talk in the last 12 years of bringing them back. It's kind of the libertarians kind of hate them. I think a lot of legislators would prefer that a human being could make that decision and not a machine, like maybe you're in labor or maybe you had to go to the bathroom or whatever. Sometimes people have excuses for speeding.
And I don't love that reasoning because we pass laws because we believe something. We set a speed limit at 35 because that's the appropriate speed limit, or 55 or 60, 80, whatever the speed limit is. We have a law in place. What we don't have is the guts to enforce it. As soon as we want to enforce something, that's when we get a little nervous. I have no problem with photocop because photocop can't be swayed, with a charming Dave Noriega who can talk his way. Yeah.
Talk your way out of a ticket.
Yeah. Because I'm charismatic. That shouldn't play into it with the police officer. I shouldn't be able to sway them. If I break the law, then I should pay the consequence. Now, if you want to be, we're going to give you a 7 miles per hour, wiggle room. Then great. Whatever you want to figure out.
That seems fair.
Let's figure out something. Sure. The first citation is free, right? Wherever it is, your first citation is free. we can put in some guardrails here, but let's go back to D.C. They had 7,500 traffic citations in 1 month. A year and a half later, they have 300. 70% of the people that got a photocop ticket didn't get a second one. So it changed behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what we want?
Mm-hmm. When I go and visit cities where I know people where there is photocop speed cameras, they always remind me, don't speed. Remember, we've got those devices that'll get a picture of you and they'll send you a ticket in the mail. Don't speed. So they even know to remind their visitors. They don't want their visitors to get caught on camera. And in D.C., this has become so popular that right now they have just under 500 speed cameras installed at various places throughout the city. And there were requests for 1,200. So I envision like residents going to City Hall and begging to be, put on the list. Right now in Utah, we have like random speed bumps. You go through a neighborhood and the neighborhood over doesn't have a speed bump, but that neighborhood to the north has 6 or 7 of them. Or you see those, electronic signs that cops sort of set. Maybe the police department has 2 or 3 of those, and they set them out in different neighborhoods, reminding you that they flash red and blue, and they tell you to slow down. But those are rare, and there's also, by the way, they don't catch anybody speeding; they just are supposed to mitigate speeding.
Yeah.
I was bummed when I got caught on photocop in West Valley City years ago, but I deserved the ticket. I deserve, and I went before a justice of the peace, or I don't know. I went to some court, and I sat there.
Took your lumps.
Waited for my number to be called, and I think I took a plea in abeyance. I'll never do it again. Just let me out of here, please. Paid a fine, something like that. I got caught. It wasn't a big deal to me that I got caught. The bigger issue was I had a problem with speeding, and I needed to knock it off. And I was just lucky I didn't crash into a car or hurt somebody. So we have a huge problem with speeding here, I think. I see it every day.
Well, you polled from the National Highway and Transportation Administration. They found that Utah has the second highest number of speed-related fatal crashes. We were just talking about how dangerous the road rage incidents have been here in Utah. And oftentimes when we talk about road rage, it's because somebody cut somebody off, they brake checked them. If every time you were speeding or you drove recklessly that it was caught on camera and there was the crackdown, I don't think it would have to be a staggering fine. I don't think it needs to be a $10,000 fine. I think if every time you sped, you get dinged with a $50 fine, $50 here, $50 there, I think we would be much more conscientious. I think we would obey the rules. We would be aware of our surroundings. It would make us better. If we have the laws, then let's have the guts to enforce them.
But right now, it's legal in very narrow circumstances here in Utah. And not all states have it. I think Senator Weiler said, under 20 states right now have these types of cameras. So he said Utah is in the comfortable majority of states that don't. And there does not appear to be any appetite to bring photocop back across Utah.
Yeah, and it seems like a pretty good idea. They're escalating it a little bit more in D.C., trying to figure out, well, if you have multiple violations, perhaps we can sue drivers. Perhaps you can have a governor that is installed on your car that prevents you from going a certain speed. So I can see a little bit from the libertarians why you'd be so nervous to have those kind of draconian measures come in. But I think there's some real merit to this idea of photocop in Utah.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 12 o'clock. This is Utah's Noon News. I'm Amy Kobabe, filling in for Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. Temperatures are a lot cooler today, but winds and wildfire danger are picking up. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
Just 4 days ago, we hit 100 degrees in Salt Lake City, but today we aren't even expected to hit 80, with temperatures barely expected to break 70 tomorrow. KSL meteorologist Matt Johnson says winds are going to start kicking up today, which is part of the reason why we have a red flag warning in southern Utah.
Down in central and southern Utah, that vegetation has already cured, so it is ready to burn, unfortunately.
Matt says wind gusts could reach 40 miles an hour in spots. We could also see some wildfire smoke blow in from California, but it is not expected to reach the Wasatch Front. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Follow us on social media to get more information on these weather conditions on our website at KSL News.